inasmuch as the dignitaries and the persons of influence are already here with us in the virtual hall, may we as well begin the program. Good morning, Philippines, and good evening, USA. Welcome to the Professional Development High Impact Series 2 webinar, dubbed as DANUM, Daring the New Unraveled Mentality, a Psychological Resilience Model. This free webinar is brought to you by the Association of International Dynamic Educators Incorporated of Maryland, USA, and Philippines, together with the Cagayan State University. To give you a flash from the past, during the last quarter of 2021, ProfDev High Impact Series 1 was launched. It was successfully conducted with Dr. Genaro B. Hapos, one of the sought-after speakers in the country along research, was invited to speak. The training workshop capacitated international and local educators and graduate school students on writing research project results as journal papers. Inscribed in the AGE's vision to allowing academic development of educators and aspiring researchers, the Series 2 from the array of seminars, trainings, and conferences is being held today with, again, high-caliber speakers. This is the commitment of the group of professionals in the AID family, the continuing professional growth and development of educators around the globe. Again, magandang buhay sa ating lahat. As we begin, may we implore the presence of the Almighty Father in an invocation through a BTR. The singing of the Philippines Lupang Hinirang and the United States of America's Star-Spangled Banner.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? And the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
For her opening remarks, I give you Dr. Mariden V. Cavilan, the Vice President for Academic Affairs of CFU and the concurrent Executive Vice President for Conference of Aid Incorporated. Ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Alan. Good evening, America. Good morning, Philippines. Happy New Year, everyone. This is AID's first special activity for the year. So let's make the most of it. Our CEO, Madam Lynn Chacon, our CEO, Dr. Ramona Tabang, fellow officers, members of the Association of International Dynamic Educators around the world, graduate school students, professors, deans of CSU Sanchez Mira, CSU Andrews, and those in the USA. The Professional Development Committee of AID is honored to have you all with us today or this evening. This activity aimed at capacitating students and teachers to effectively embrace learning and teaching during this pandemic as part of AID's commitment to advance internationalization through academic fora and research development. The uncertainty of global pandemic that is constantly changing as we look for answers impact every citizen of our world today. The numbers are skyrocketing, and it is estimated that hundreds of millions of students worldwide are expecting an education disrupted by the spread of coronavirus. In the world, 460 million children began taking their classes online after the new year, and this type of disruption, bridging geographic teaching quality and wealth disparities, has an impact that schools and universities will grapple with for a considerable period of time. We must then embrace new insights and take advantage of educational approaches offered on the online setting When schools are closed and face-to-face instruction is no longer an option, so that students can explore and expand their acquisition of knowledge as we move courses online. Experts would tell us that the design and sequence of content and learning activities in both realms should be methodical, systematic, and purposeful. So, as we commit to continuous improvement and redesign our lessons to meet the current needs of students, the opportunities afforded to increase learning. And this does not mean that students must feel isolated as if they are working in silos. And we can strengthen this curriculum by designing lessons that connect students online through discussions and groups activities. The concern that many of us must address refers to the students or relates to the students in schools that do not have the technology required to serve students. Some students get depressed because they do not have the resources to purchase the technology required for online learning, especially in the case of state universities and colleges in the Philippines, I must admit. So by engaging a community of learners in online teaching and learning that integrates content and method of learning, students will be motivated to continue their learning in an online format as they deal with the challenges of a global pandemic. Making connections with all students, dedicated educators are committed to reaching out and connecting with students. Unfortunately, though, not all teachers have the psychological capacity and have the ability to pursue a variety of online tools and strategies to continue providing a quality education experience for all students and pursue best practices in the virtual environment. So, all these challenges, issues, and concerns may bring about depression among teachers and students alike. Hence, we invited highly calibered psychologists, the persons of Dr. Richard Gonzalez, my classmate in college at the St. Paul University, Philippines. I must say are the best in our batch. And of course, Dr. Febe Marpat, also a highly recognized, globally recognized, registered guidance counselor and psychologist, both of whom will enlighten us about redefining teaching and learning during this pandemic. We encourage everyone to make the most of it. So let us have a fruitful and wonderful interaction today or tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Den. There you have it. This is just the first webinar conceptualized by the ProfDev committee this year, and there are still a number of seminars aligned for everybody this year. That's how dedicated and committed our global officers are, all for the greater glory of the Almighty. At this juncture, I would like to present the attendees in today's gathering. We have in the virtual conference room the 8 global officers, headed, of course, by the CEO Lin Shokon. We also have in attendance some of the officers of the advisory board. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the officers and members of Maryland, USA satellite. We also have the officers and members of the City of Coronadal satellite. In attendance are also the graduate school professors of the Cagayan State University, the graduate school students of USA, as well as the graduate school students of CSU Sanchez Mira and CSU Andrews. To the other spectators who are here with us today, thank you for logging in. So in the room, we are all 149 at the moment, plus of course, there may be those using just one account, but they are maybe 2 or 3 in attendance to that account. Again, thank you for joining us. This time, may I call in the campus executive officer of CSU Sanchez Mira, and at the same time, the executive vice president for professional development of AID Incorporated, Dr. Narcitas Diowano, for her welcome remarks.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Dr. Richard Gonzalez, Dr. Febemal Paat, Ms. Lynn Chocon, Ms. Mariden, Dr. Mariden, Dr. Edith Pagulayan, Dean of the Graduate School Andrews, Dr. Rodel Alegado, Dean of the Graduate School Sanchez Mira. And everybody, good morning. Today is another special day in so many ways. And the first is we are alive by His grace. We in CSU and AID Incorporated feel exceptionally blessed and fortunate to be able to share a new learning opportunity with all of you. Hence, an extra special word of welcome goes to all our virtual participants, our graduate school students, friends, fellow aid officers, and to the generous guests and resource speakers who have willingly shared a part of their schedule so as to share their wisdom and expertise with us. We literally appreciate you going the extra mile for everyone. I am sure that this professional development high impact series, dubbed this time as I won't call it DANUM, but I want to call it DANUM, DANUM, which is Ilocano for water, always flowing with ideas, or daring a new unraveled mentality will be as fruitful as its series one. I therefore hope that you will enjoy the sessions with us and that we will strengthen the bonds and fellowship that binds us all together. May we therefore all take this opportunity to reaffirm and confirm how lucky we are to be amongst each other, next to each other, and part of each other's lives. Long may our friendship and fellowship between AID and CSU continue. Cheers.
Thank you, Mom. We are lucky enough to be a part of this AID family, and that's truly a heartwarming and revitalizing welcome message, something that would keep us on fire and energized in this approximately 4-hour webinar. Again, thank you, Ma'am. And to break the monotony, may we be entertained with a song number from our resident singer, the homegrown artist of AID Incorporated, the Victor Wood of the PhD Educational Management class. Hindi ko makalimutan yung kinanta ni Sir dati. I've been loving you. Eternally. Okay. I give you Mr. Ernesto Pamolarco Jr. Sir?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to greet Happy New Year to our beloved professors at Cagayan State University and all the participants who are here tonight, and the officers of AID, especially the founder, Ms. Lynn Chocon. I'm going to sing another. a different song this time. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very
Okay.
audible.
I'm going to sing another song, and it's not going to be Victor Wood this time. It's a song popularized by Jim Reeves. And the title of the song is May the Lord, May the Good Lord bless and keep you. I hope you will like this song. I heartily and lovingly dedicated this to Miss Lin Shokon because she has experienced so much. That's why she has organized this organization, and to all of you who has been experiencing the virus just like I do. I just recovered the other day. Kaya medyo ano-ano pa yung boses ko. Na fully vaccinated na ako, kabuong pamilya, pero di pa rin maiwasan, nagkaka-virus pa din. Kaya I'm going to sing this song for everyone, and may the good Lord bless and keep us all. I hope you will like this song. Would you mind to, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, clear.
Oh, okay, clear. Lynn, this
Yes po.
the reason why I ask you. I'm sorry that I did not include all the pictures because I cannot retrieve all the pictures in YouTube. So I only gather all those pictures doon sa Facebook account ni Lynn at saka sa yung ibang nakikita ko doon. But I just did this like 2 hours ago nung nag-usap kami ni Lynn. Kaya ito talaga yung ginawa ko, Lynn. Surprise for you. Because I know that you are, yes, and for Dr. Pagulayan, the Dean of the College Education sa Andrews Campus na naging professor ko, para po sa inyo ito, okay? I hope you will like this song.
May the good Lord bless and keep you, whether near or far away. May you find that long awaited golden day today. May your troubles all be small ones, and your fortune 10 times 10. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May you walk with sunlight shining and the bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud you see. Fill your dream with sweet tomorrow. Never mind what might have been. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May you walk with sunlight shining and the bluebird in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud and keep you till we meet again. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, ang ganda ng melody, ang ganda rin ng message. Thank you very much, sir. May the good Lord bless and keep us all, especially during this time of pandemic. And we hope to hear more songs from you, sir. And if there are those who wanted perhaps to share their singing or dancing prowess, just let us know. We will be the next. At this point, the most important part of the program has not actually started yet, but CEO Lynn Chocon is now very much eager to express her words of acknowledgement. As Richie Norton puts, when we express our gratitude, it grows. CEO Lynn?
You surprised me, Dr. Ernesto Pamularco. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Magandang gabi at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, saan man kayong sulok ng daigdig ngayon. The Association of International Dynamic Educators Incorporated joined forces with Cagayan State University to make this professional development be materialized today. Recognition goes to our AID PD team led by Dr. Maridin Kawilan, AID Executive Vice President on Conference, Dr. Narcita Uwano, AID Executive Vice President on Professional Development, Dr. Rudel Aligado, the AID Professional Development Director, and the Association of International Dynamic Educators Incorporated team, together with the CSU staff who planned this event, invited our guest speakers, arranged and drafted the program. Please give them a big round of applause for the part they played in advancing our association's mission and vision, goals and objectives. A lot of their hard work and dedication can be gleaned from your involvement. A round of applause first to them. Virtual. For without this team, we will not have our brilliant speakers who will impart their expertise, talent, and wisdom to us in the midst of this pandemic. A recognition goes to Dr. Richard Gonzalez and Dr. Feby Mark Payet. Please let's give them a virtual applause as well. Thank you so much. I would like to recognize to all the global officers who are here, global officers of the Association of International Dynamic Educators Incorporated, who are here tonight, today. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged. Your support and help, your dedication, commitment to the association, I highly appreciate it. Thank you to all the participants who came today from the different locales around the globe. Thank you for the international students in the USA, CSU administrators, faculty and staff who are here, and also the students of CSU. I would like to recognize as well the AID satellite in Maryland, the officers and their members who are here, and as well as the first satellite in the Philippines, located in Coronadal City, Satellite, their officers and members who are here attending this wonderful, amazing professional development. I would like to state, Benjamin Franklin says, an investment in knowledge pays the best interests. I know you will never regret in coming to this professional development. Thank you for those who make this event a successful one. I would like to reiterate and my thankfulness to all of you for your kindness, your support, your commitment, and humility to serve in your capacity. This team effort displayed by everyone are all the ingredients of a recipe that contributed to the success of our program today. The same ingredients that would lead aid to achieve life-changing gains in the future. We have good news to everyone. So our efforts to impact the lives of our fellow men never be in vain. Thank you so much, and I hope I never forget to recognize who are here. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
We also thank you, CEO Lynn, for bringing Aid Incorporated to our doorsteps. For without this organization, we would not be having and attending this series of free professional development webinar. As Barry Long puts, acknowledgement is the only way to keep the love alive. Again, thank you po. We now come to the most awaited part of the program, the webinar proper. But before that, may we lend our ears to Dr. Rodelty Alegado, the Dean of CSU Sanchez Mira Graduate School, and at the same time, the Director of Professional Development of Aid Incorporated, for the introduction of our first speaker. Dr. Rodel, take it away.
Thank you very much, Doc A. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Our first speaker is an accomplished global education professional with wide-ranging international operations and policy experience working at the country level in Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa, Asia, and other global initiatives. A strong track record in leading international teams and analytical work, setting strategic direction, program design, portfolio management, and managing complex education and social sector projects. He has been engaged with strong experience of high-level policy dialogue gained through his working for the World Bank and Asian Development Bank in leadership roles for more than 15 years. He has a wide-ranging experience with international agencies, including close collaboration with various governments, universities, and the private sector. Our speaker is a senior education specialist and a licensed psychometrician with extensive experience working with international and multilateral organizations in low, middle, as well as with high-income countries, and with a wide range of experience in designing projects and programs, delivering, implementing, and evaluating educational programs while strengthening local counterparts and support staff. He also has been an excellent interpersonal skills and strong written and verbal communication competency. He completed a doctorate degree in education major in research, evaluation, and cognates in psychology and industrial relations, and a master's degree of science major in educational measurement and evaluation. He was a Japanese Mombushu scholar in his diploma in cognitive psychology, a Japan Foundation scholar for his certificate in teaching Japanese as a foreign language, and did his certificate in project management in the Division of Continuing Education at the University of California, Irvine. To mention some of the prestigious positions he has held, has been a senior consultant and assistant general manager of Nomura Research Institute, senior education specialist of the World Bank, Middle East, and North Africa region branches, and to present, a fellow of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization. My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Chief Executive Advisor of InnoChange International Consultants Incorporated, Dr. Richard de la Cruz Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rodel, for the kind introduction. Okay. Good day to all of you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Assalamualaikum. Thank you for this invitation to have a learning conversation with all of you virtually. I hope you can see me and you can see my slides as well. I hope that we will enjoy this conversation and leave the Zoom meeting room full of hopes and desire to improve teaching and ensure learning in all our students in the midst of pandemic. My name is Richard Gonzalez, and as I was introduced by Dr. Rodel, most of my colleagues and friends call me Doc Cha. I am here to share my thoughts and ideas and aspirations on how we can reimagine and redefine teaching and learning during these difficult times of pandemic. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 from Wuhan, China, governments around the world have abruptly changed a system, including education, in the attempt to slow down the community transmission of the virus. We were caught unprepared with sudden change of the modality of learning delivery. The future learning that we have been talking about some decades ago unexpectedly realized. And so we went into online learning, blended learning, distance learning, modular learning, name it. These modalities became mainstream or typical learning delivery systems instead of just an option. So we face the dilemma, not only delivering instruction, but also determining how our students are learning. However, these changes of learning delivery unlock so many opportunities and venues for us to tap the potentials of what we thought just as theories. In this slide, I hope you can see it, I would like to share the lessons from COVID-19 pandemic as summarized by DepEd. Okay. Please note that the changes from old school to new school significantly on the methodology from face-to-face to flexible remote learning and place of learning from classroom to anywhere, anytime. Home became the classroom to many of us, and our roles as teachers out of the blue became a designer from merely implementer. Likewise, the role of parents became more prominent partners of student learning. The COVID-19 affected us so badly in the education sector, while the shift to innovative teaching and learning happened because of COVID-19, it also caused us increase in learning loss, missed opportunities for both students and teachers, poor mental health, parental burden, and teacher stress, among others. However, the good thing is the future of learning that we have been talking for 2 to 3 decades ago was suddenly realized. The potential of technology were tapped to the fullest, and the elusive parents' engagement suddenly took place. This picture tells a lot. Apologies for using woman as a model, no prejudice intended. As I always say, pandemic put us in a situation likened to a cold meat on a hot pan. We were not ready, but we embraced the situation. We have to leave the new normal, and it's unlikely that the comfort zones that we have enjoyed before the pandemic will come back anytime. Receiving new conflicting information about COVID-19, especially the Omicron variant, is sending students, educators, families, communities into tailspin. If I will this virus, we have just been hearing them, kilometers away from our homes and families. Now, some of us are experiencing it within our homes and in our families, unfortunately. Most schools remain closed. Students and teachers, including parents, are challenged, and I would say frustrated with the remote learning. School reopening are very uncertain and revealed slowly, if at all. CHED, allowed some universities to open, for example, but LGUs are closing them down. Okay, and I hope just because. And I would like to share this. I don't know if you could see it. This is what happens. Just to put things. Put some humor into it. This is what happens when you don't read the Bible. Okay, who killed David? Okay, blank blank BID. Okay, and some people say it's COVID. Okay, but it's actually who killed Goliath. I mean, okay, it's actually David. Many talks about the present and upcoming school years. Teaching and learning have been rooted in anxiety of what could go wrong. Right? We have been experiencing trial and error in terms of our of the new modality that we have embraced. Okay, we argue that it is critical to start our conversation from a place of hope and reimagine and redefine what could go well in our teaching and learning. Recently, using the LinkedIn platform as a platform, I made a short survey, specifically for this webinar. And this is what I found out. Even with the limited number of respondents, the survey is telling us something about the greatest challenge we face in a flexible learning environment. Engaging students to learn is the greatest challenge brought about by the changes in delivering education in these pandemic times. Okay, so teaching modality is not a problem. Okay, that means teachers were able to adjust quickly. That's how resilient teachers are. Okay, but engaging students, okay, to learn, is the greatest challenge. Is our greatest challenge as teachers. So just like any teaching activity, let's ensure our objectives are clear. Okay. At the end of the webinar, this pandemic, we hope to be more understanding and compassionate teachers, strategic teachers who can encourage or teach students to consistently be the best learners, supportive teachers to students' learning process by using appropriate teaching frameworks, objective teachers in knowing what and how students have learned, and becoming proficient teachers who can support learning. Okay. I know before the start of the remote learning or the distance learning or this blended learning, all of us have attended 1001 seminars, webinars, and trainings on how to use technology. Okay, and so I will put the technology, the actual, okay, heavy and very technical teaching approach, but rather I would touch onto the soft part of teaching and learning. But first, okay, what is teaching? Okay, because we basically have to understand what teaching is. Okay, we all know that teaching is a concerted sharing of knowledge and experience, okay, which is usually organized within a discipline and more generally the provision of stimulus to the psychological and intellectual growth of a person by another person. And this is usually the teacher or the guru. In teaching, okay, or being a teacher, okay, we are making a big difference. Okay, you are teaching because you want to make you can make a difference, or you want to make a difference. If you ask many teachers, why did you become a teacher? Majority of them will likely to mention the ability to make a real difference in the lives of their students. Each day you work with students, you have the potential to make a lasting impression, negative or positive, hopefully most positive. Almost all of us can remember something positive that one of our teachers said to us or the class as a whole. There were lessons that stick in our minds and impact our viewpoints for years. Being a teacher means you are molding the future generations through the curriculum you set and bits of personal wisdom you impart. As teachers, you have the ability and power to teach life lessons as well as core subjects. There's a good chance that you may be spending more waking hours with your students than the students spending waking hours with their parents. This means that you're the one to help teach them social skills, time management, conflict resolution, and of course, stress management, in how to cope with stressors and how to focus on a particular school task. If we were lucky, we had a teacher who is indelible in our minds. They showed how much they cared for us and their subject. They inspired us to be better, push harder, go further. Now, it is your turn to be that teacher for someone, especially during these challenging pandemic times. You are teaching because you'll get variety in your days. Do you agree with me? Why become a teacher? Well, if you thought of going to an office cubicle, doing the same task every day, 8 to 5, sounds dissatisfying, you may flourish more, you will grow more in the classroom with your student. Teaching is a job that thrives on a variety, with 2 days rarely being the same. You have the ability to spice it up as you work through the new units in the curriculum, discover new topics, and to teach and instruct new students in its semester. Okay, even if you are teaching, okay, English 101 to 5 or 3 or to 2 or 3 to 5 classes, the way we approach, the way you deal with your students in each class is entirely a different experience. If you teach in high school or college, you may teach the same lesson content several times in a day, but new faces and personalities in its period, it's unlikely that the actual lesson will unfold the same way twice. There's always the chance that students will ask different questions, have different struggles and reactions to the subject matter. Your days are likely interesting and varied, making for days that you don't feel monotonous and sluggish. More challenging is the fact that there are days that your internet connection doesn't work, right? And most of your students cannot even log in into your online class. Third, you're a teacher or you are teaching because you want to share love of learning. Agree? Can I see sometimes thumbs up? If you're ever been taught by a teacher who absolutely loved their subject, you knew that it made the class more enjoyable. In fact, research shows that two of the most important elements of teaching are quality of instruction and how well a teacher knows the subject material. Okay? You probably remember during your school days that you've got a very brilliant, teachers, but you enjoyed more because they're putting their life whenever they teach. Okay, for example, Dr. Edita Pagulayan. Okay, in fact, getting your students excited about topics, okay, you love is just the way you can share love of learning. You will get to deal into new topics and learn right along with students. You also have the chance to become student again, right? As emerging technologies and instructional methods are introduced and historic events unfold in real time, you will always be learning something new as teachers. So let's not forget that most of us, became more technology oriented when we embrace online learning. Teaching is fun. We love teaching, or you are teaching because you can encourage fun. Okay, the best teachers bring their passion, personality, and sense of humor into the class or to the classroom, whether it's face-to-face or virtual. Okay, great. And this is more challenging for in virtual classes or online classes. Okay, you bring in your personality and humor in an online class is more challenging. Okay, unless you are showing that you are dressed like this, but you at the bottom you are just wearing your boxers or even your shorts. Okay, that could make the class funny. Okay, great teachers are committed to finding new and different ways to deliver content so that it's more interesting to students. Okay, and that is the challenge that we have in this pandemic time, especially in an online learning. The enthusiasm that you bring to the table will likely to be mirrored by your students, okay? Which makes the classroom highly energizing environment. The greatest thing that you can do is to let your unique personality elevate the learning experience of your students. Use your individual gifts and charm and talents to inspire and motivate your students. There are days that you feel tougher and than others. Your humor can help you move forward. Teaching is also highly social job. Being a teacher means you are joining a team of colleagues who can lean on hard times, good times, laugh with, during good times. You are interacting with your fellow faculty members as well as students and their parents. Being a teacher means being a key member of the community as you get to know your family, the families. However, because of the pandemic, our social interaction with our colleagues and students became limited to virtual rendezvous. Okay, you now have class reunions virtually, family reunions virtually. You celebrate your birthday virtually. You have your thesis oral defense, okay, virtually and all that. So everything is limited. Our social interaction, okay, is limited to virtual interactions. Okay, thanks to Facebook, Messenger, Zoom, Skype, and Viber, among others. Okay, and if I will make a survey at this point, okay, probably 99.9% all of us have Facebook. Of course, that follows that we have a Messenger. Okay, we know how to log into Zoom, okay, or Microsoft Teams as whatsoever. We have Skype accounts, we have Viber accounts, we have Telegrams, it's among others. Okay. As a teacher, you have a pretty great schedule. Do you agree with me? Okay. And that makes teaching very encouraging. If you think you have a light work schedule being a teacher, you may find yourself disappointed. Okay. There are times that you need to do lesson planning after school days has ended. Okay. I remember holding a batch meeting, and Dr. Kawilan comes like, "Oh, I just finished my class. Sorry that I'm late." So many times this work can be taken at home. Though if you have children on your own, scheduling works out well since you are likely to be on the same schedule. Right now at home, probably there are 3 computers or online classes going on. You're having your own class, and if you have 2 or 3 kids with you, they're also having their own classes in the other rooms of your homes, or probably just simply doing the modules. Okay, just like I have a kid, who is still in the grade school, and even I have a meeting, Dad, hey Dad, please post. I have a quiz. So I said I have to unmute my microphone, stop my video, just to make sure that I go and support my kid taking the taking the quiz. Or I'm not taking the quiz for himself, for my son. Okay. So holidays that teachers get are undoubtedly plenty. Do you agree with me? They are pretty great perks for the job. If you are a teacher, you get nearly 8 weeks off each summer, right? Except when you are an school administrator. You have a paid off during Christmas, New Year, and Halloween. Most teachers, even Thanksgiving days, okay? Most teachers get paid holidays in addition to breaks of professional days without students, so that they can have a quiet work day, okay? And lastly, you are making a difference, and you are teaching because there are so many intangible rewards in teaching. For many teachers, salary may be very low, but the small intangible rewards are some of the best parts of the job and can compensate the lost salary. Agree? Okay. There are little joys that come from teaching students, especially if you are teaching children. The funny things they say, even when they don't realize they're funny, their silly habits and insightful questions they ask, and the amusing stories they write, all make the job more satisfying. Memories you make and the keepsakes you get are the things you'll treasure for years. But nothing can beat the moment when the students have been struggling with concept gets it. Okay, so if you are teaching calculus and you see somebody there who's not getting, even getting to proceed with the computation, but once he gets it, that's very satisfying. The side joy when it clicks for them and they celebrate their accomplishment is likely one of the greatest rewards of teaching. In other words, teaching is more than a job. Do you agree with me? Hence, we always believe that teaching is still the noblest profession. On the other hand, Learning is the process the students pass through to acquire knowledge and skills and ultimately influence their attitudes and decision. Okay, and so learning is defined in different from maturation in main aspects. Okay, because it involves knowing and answering what, when, where, who, and why. Before we proceed, let's do this short exercise. I want you to remember one of your best teachers. You can also remember your worst teachers or mentors who inspired you to succeed and why. I will give you a minute to remember one. I hope you can remember at least one. Okay, one of your former teachers who inspired you. Now, I would like some of you to open your camera, unmute your mic, and share your experience. Let it inspire each other. So you raise your hand if you want to share. Okay, anybody? I hope there's somebody who is inspired enough to share. Can anybody unmute and open a camera and share? You don't need to mention the name of your teacher.
Good morning po.
Yes, please.
Uh,
Can you?
this is
can you-
Francesca po, but is it okay not to open the camera po because I'm really
Okay.
tired?
Sure. Can you let us know your name?
My name is Francesca Alcanis po.
Okay, sure. Yes, Francesca, please go on.
Yes po. So one person that really inspired me when I was in high school. So in our high school we have a program wherein, and I know a lot of you can relate to this, a program wherein one of their student will be the teacher for the week. So I was a student teacher for that week, and I will not forget him because, to be honest, first I was praying and I was hoping that the person who will be the class that who will be picking me as to be the student teacher is the math teacher. But you know, God has its ways, and I was a teacher for religion. So I really did not expect that because, of course, because of my background. But that experience really opened my eyes about what career path that I want and what I want to be in the future. And I'm so happy with my religion teacher because until now I am a teacher.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I hope you became more religious as well. Okay.
Yes,
Anybody?
thank you.
Probably we can accommodate one or two more.
Permission to speak.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh yeah, I suddenly remember Mom Narcitas Puano. She's on the screen now. So Mom Wano was my trainer for the
Wow.
Mom Narcitas, so good to see you. So I cannot just allow myself not to speak to commend you because until now I still remember what you have done when I was in the University of CSU. You trained me for the oratorical contest for the College of Education way back. This was just like 1998 or 1997 during my first year college in the university. Ma'am Wano was then very new in the university, and she was a very calm professor. And at first, I do not have any idea how to go through with the competition, but with with her passion and the way she delivers her piece was really inspiring because she really accommodates my ideas. And I don't know whether Narcitas can still recall me, but I'm just so glad to see her again. And she was one of my teachers in the university that was really likened by everyone because of her ready smile and very accommodating personality. And when I see her now in the screen, she doesn't age. She did not age at all. It's still very sweet face and very sweet personality. And I would just like to give her a clap. I stayed in the education sector, and now that I'm a preschool teacher in Singapore, I try to be more accommodating to the children and to have a ready smile every day I face them. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat. Okay, probably one more.
Can I share, sir?
Sure.
So this is Delmi Mendez. I'm here based in Tokyo, teaching us early childhood education. So to be honest, what really inspires me to become a teacher is not a teacher at all. It's been a long term for me to realize that I want to teach. Because when I went to Isabela State University, the only option I can have is secondary education. And I really don't know at first, like in my mind, I thought that being a teacher or this course is like an easy course. And boy, I was wrong. Then at times goes when my professor starts to teach. This one particular professor, I'm really watching her, and she's so old, and I wonder why she's still here, and then took times to inspire us. I wonder why, because she's so old, like, she's supposed to rest. And that moment I realized, like, maybe I should try. And the rest is history. And when I look back from that experience, and I realized, like, now it makes sense why you said, sir, and other professional are always telling, like, teaching is a noble job. It's not easy, and it's very what you call this, it's very worth to inspire the students to become better, to share what they want to become, and help them build their dreams. It's not an easy, it's easy said than done, but when the time comes, when one of your students will email you or send you a message that saying thank you to you, it's a big accomplishment. So that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, I hope the sharing that we had from our three participants inspired us to continue to be better teachers, okay, or to continue to be in the profession. So going back to our present situation, the pandemic imposed on us new teaching and learning framework, imposing on us the concept of flexible and remote learning, with the new normal, enhanced distance learning, systematized remote learning. The flexible learning is best illustrated using this paradigm. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, that the quality delivery of the teaching and learning process expands or ranges in various modes of instruction, from face-to-face to distance or remote learning. Okay. It is based on the philosophy that education needs to be accessible for all learners, okay, who are unable to attend physical classroom due to the constraints of obviously the pandemic. At different forms of learning delivery, schools and academic institutions need to ensure the quality of all aspects of education. Hence, this paradigm shows the ecosystem of learning that can accommodate a span of many realities. The paradigm is organized into the continuum of two dimensions. online or offline, okay, online or offline, face-to-face, okay, face-to-face and distance. In fact, I am trying to coin a new word for this. Okay, and in fact, I'm making this a survey in my LinkedIn account. Okay, whether we call this physi digital, like combination of physical and digital learning, or digiface, the digital learning and face-to-face, as a more millennial term, because the remote learning, blended learning, ano na lang, but make it more millennial. To make it more millennial, I'm still working on this concept though. Okay, the online and offline continuum is a means of delivering the contents of learning, while the face-to-face and remote distance refers to the distance of the learning to physical school setting. The interaction of content delivery and distance dimension produces four variants of teaching and learning process as presented in this figure. I don't know if you can see it. There are four elements that vary in the teaching and learning aspect across the four quadrants of flexible learning. This includes the approach to learning, pedagogy involved, model of presenting the learning material, the teacher and or facilitator, and how learners' progress are monitored. In the first quadrant, the delivery is online through face-to-face, okay? Online through face-to-face. This involves integrating technology on certain lessons, while other lessons are delivered via face-to-face. And this is what we call the blended learning. In this scenario, the teacher facilitates the learning process. And this is the usual approach where the teacher is present inside the classroom. The second quadrant, the delivery of the lesson can be pure online, and the learner is based at home or in setting far away from school due to defined constraints. In this case, technology is integrated in most of the lessons. The pedagogy is also blended, where various combination of strategies, okay, are facilitated through an online mode. In this scenario, the facilitator of learning would be the parent, the guardian, tutor, or any adult who can assist the learner. It is possible that the teacher, it is possible for the teacher to monitor the learner at scheduled times through any forms of communication, maybe text message, face message, or any other. So in this aspect, the structure of teaching and learning is not too much controlled by the school. The standards, however, are provided for this delivery mode. The third quadrant, okay, the learning is facilitated by the teacher in the school setting, and the learning resources are provided offline, that is printed modules. Okay, an example of learning results would be a learning module that facilitates the learning process. The usual pedagogies are implemented here by the teacher who is physically present in the school setting. There are numerous available standards for this quadrant that includes teaching competencies and frameworks for the teaching learning process. The fourth quadrant, involved the learner in a remote location, and the lessons are provided via offline. So this is completely, okay, no, especially for those who do not have access to internet and can be accessed in give. The approach here is described by the interaction of the learner and the printed material. Okay, the facilitator of the learner, hopefully they are the facilitating are the parents, okay, guardian or any tutor. So that's why some parents or some teachers or even among us would kid around like, ang taas ng grade mo, okay? Because you were the ones who made the modules, who completed the modules of your son, okay? Or the quizzes of your sons, or you made the projects of your children, rather than simply supporting them. Parents did it. That's why, parents' engagement are, very high, because they don't only support, they do things for their students, which it should be discouraged. The adults, should be who assist the learner are guided by pedagogy in the learning material. The teacher can visit or send offline feedback for the learner's progress. This aspect of flexible learning is provided standards also. The elements are categorized into 4 aspects, refer to the second and fourth quadrant are flexible learning. Learning resources, online, offline, lessons module, learning delivery, pedagogy and facilitation approaches, the role of parents, guardians, and tutor, monitoring and evaluating, flexible learning. There are 4 aspects. These 4 aspects are selected because they vary depending on the delivery of content, online or offline, distance or face-to-face or remote. Please note that there are 4 elements. These 4 elements are considered, okay, when we develop the most appropriate delivery system for our students and supported by our school. Okay, so considering all these factors, okay, how do we teach and can be effective teachers during these pandemic times? Teaching during these pandemic times definitely requires reimagining education through the lens of love and action. Okay. If we don't use this moment to reimagine education, we are missing an incredible opportunity, which will leave our students wondering why we did not work harder to leverage the moment to make their lives and schools better. So let's start our conversation with some important points to help us become more understanding and compassionate teachers and help our students love learning in the midst of pandemic. Okay, pedagogy, we all know the techniques of teaching, etc., direct, indirect, etc. We all know this, but for these pandemic times, I would suggest that we need to develop more understanding and compassion to help our students love to learn in the midst of pandemic. We should realize that there is no perfect formula for academic success, but if we are able to love our students to love learning, that's already a big achievement, especially in this time when the impact of COVID is hard to imagine. When schools suddenly closed in March 2020, and moved to online flexible instruction, I wondered how we would have responded if we were not resilient and committed to teaching no matter what and how. I imagine having you prepared, a series of engaging lessons very differently from face-to-face. At first, it was difficult, but later on, we started loving it. But having talked to many administrators and teachers, I've realized that good online flexible schooling during pandemic is a team sport. Do you agree? It's not a solo performance. It is, again, teaching during this pandemic is a team sport, not a solo performance. It calls for careful preparation and coordination among many players. Just as COVID revealed hidden shortcomings in our society, it has exposed the limitation and compartmentalized schools that continue to rise or fall on skills, autonomy, self-reliance, and of individual teachers. So as teachers, we all face the sudden reality of online flexible learning, and we have so many pressing questions. I thought I hope you also ask these questions yourself. Okay, you have to ask the question like, are my students safe, confident, or are they at risk, hungry, or fearful? Especially when we were on a lockdown. Am I responsible for finding students who don't show up in an online class? What kind of schedule provides meaningful routines with necessary flexibility? How can I relate social learning experiences for students who are isolated at home? What can I do to help students who fall behind? How can we meet special learning needs to students who rely on one-on-one support? How can I fairly grade students' progress when I can provide extra help to those who need it? In many schools, teachers struggled with such questions alone. Unfortunately, and I hope, you are not one of them. Without a reliable forum where teachers could explore and resolve urgent problems with others, individual teachers did their best, which I believe some of you experienced it. Some convened their classes occasionally for live meetings so students could see one another and talk about how things were going for them. Many prepared weekly packets or modules for parents to pick up at the school, and they posted assignments online for students to complete and upload for grading. Some relied on web-based educational resources. Ang galing-galing na natin. Like, our curriculum now, that's why we have Google curriculum now, Google textbooks, because, it's easier to find answers to our questions when we use Google, right? Okay. Many teachers were dismayed to realize that their repertoire of instructional practices have been drastically reduced in a few barren components. Okay. When in classroom before, you use your acrobatic acts to be able to encourage students to learn. This can no longer possible, or it may not be possible. Doing your acrobatics if you have, if you have weak internet and so on. So meanwhile, students within same schools might have either engaging or tedious learning experience, depending who their teachers, who their teachers were. But some schools pivoted for more quickly and coherently provide their students with consistent schedules, opportunities, and expectations. Teachers were not left on their own to decide and what to do and how to do it. Instead, they relied on established teams of peers to plan. And importantly, teachers in the schools were accustomed to counting on their colleagues. That's why, as a result, team spirit was established. Do you agree with that? Okay. Before, you don't want to share. Now, it's important. In fact, as an assessment specialist, I am advocating integrative assessment. This is to raise the burden of both teachers and students doing similar and complementing tasks for its students. For example, an art teacher wants a student to draw a house, and a math teacher is also asking what are the figures that you use when you are drawing a house. So in that case, an art teacher and a math teacher can come out with an integrative assessment so that, a student will just do one output, but he will be graded by two teachers, Of course, assuming that they have the same instructional objective. Last year, I studied on the changes to the assessment during pandemic, and these are this is what I found out. 91% of the teachers became more flexible in giving deadlines. So I would like to skip this for the interest of time. You could check. This presentation is available in my YouTube channel. So probably you can check my YouTube channel and watch this. So I would just go into conclusions. But our conclusion assessments were hugely affected by COVID, but teachers were able to adjust, learn, and excited to learn more assessment. So let's start our conversation with these 3 important points to help us become more understanding and compassionate teachers. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I will focus more on the soft aspect of how to redefine teaching and learning during this pandemic. Okay, we should realize that there is no perfect, formula for academic system. Okay, so there are 3 important points to remember as part of our goal to redefine teaching and learning during pandemic. 1, student is different. Every student is different. This is a fact, and we usually take this for granted. We assume that the 40 students in our class are the same. No, there are actually 40 students who are entirely different from each student. Even twins, okay, are not the same. Every single amazing, smart, intelligent, enthusiastic, attentive, bully, aggressive, rich or poor, tall or small, human being that walks into our classroom or logs into our virtual classes on a daily basis has their own stories. One full of hopes, sadness, and complication. And this is not just rhetoric, it's true, and it matters when we are teaching. So when we talk of redefining teaching and learning, our main goal is to support students to achieve academic success. Every student has that goal to succeed in school and beyond school. But each student comes with a distinct approach and strategy to achieve at the same time, maintaining our mental health as teachers in fulfilling these goals. However, what is the reality that we are in? In our design learning experiences, schools, curriculum, technology, and all other bits of pieces of education and academic, it is possible that we forget and miss some of the obvious factors of academic success, factors that every single student needs. So today, I will share some essential things that every student needs to love learning during this pandemic time. This is, of course, not encompassing. There could be more, but it's good for us to realize and reflect on them as our way of redefining teaching and learning. So allow me to share some thoughts and ideas about what every student needs to love learning and succeed in education beyond school during this pandemic times. Remembering these are our way of redefining our teaching. Again, please remember our goal is to help students engage and enjoy learning in spite of the challenges brought about by the pandemic, physically, financially, socially, and psychologically. So here are some a dozen things that every student needs to love, needs to know, needs to love and succeed academically. Okay, first, every student needs self-knowledge. Here are basic questions students ask to know about themselves. Who am I? How do I do? How do I relate this work? What is required of me? How can I provide the value to my family and friends I value? Where have I been and where I am going? And part of sense of self is sense of place and the places of community the students embedded within and chooses to be himself. Okay, second, every student needs inspiring models and modeling. Okay, we're not talking of the rump models here, but another thing. Okay, models offer ideas, act as scaffolding, enlighten possibility, provide pathways, and give students something to anchor their thinking and when everything seems abstract and very academic. The more creative, the more authentic, inspiring, and diverse we are as teachers, the better chance that every student can be. Okay? Who can be these models to our students? We as teachers, their teachers, school administrators, parents, and other significant persons. Modeling is a process of showing how, when, where, the most importantly, why matters to bringing lessons from ideas to action. Third, every student needs to know how to learn learning strategy. And they need to know these strategies as well as the content, as they need ones to make, as they and they need ones that make sense to them, that they understand and can grow into it. Don't tell them to use analogies, because research says so. For example, in our social sciences, they are smart, intelligent, useful, flexible learning strategies. Okay, or I mean, they need smart, intelligent, useful, flexible learning strategies that they can and will use unprompted because they know they need them. And part of this is both the ability and tendency to think critically and creatively. Every student needs feedback, not judgment. Okay? So when a student comes to you with an essay, Lara, oh no, okay, I don't like it. Okay, you have to explain where you're saying you don't like the essay, or the essay is does not make sense. You know, the feedback we give to every student helps and acts as guidance to them. As I remember, it may be corrective, but can even be more comforting. When we give feedback, let's avoid stating it as a judgment, because judgment is personal and emotional, and it hurts. Okay, so we tell our students, you don't always get this part perfect, but if you can at least try this, or to hear yourself and know the difference, we're better off than we would otherwise. We often can tell how learning feedback sounds, no matter how we mean for it to sound. So that means, our personality of teacher, as teachers, comes in when we provide to them. Okay, so you cannot just simply say like "Andi ka pa," like like this is just a sloppy word, but rather than whenever you give feedback, we start with okay, your essay is interesting, but you can still improve it by doing this or doing that. Okay, every student needs creative spaces and tools, especially now. Students need physical and psychological space. This could be physical or digital, alone or in a group, with apps, robotics, paint process, machines and tools, science labs, subdirect or creativity isn't something that's added on. It's an honoring of a basic human need for self-expression and self-direction. So allow your students to express themselves, because this is also a way for them to achieve self-direction. We need to encourage each student to find the best learning space and identify tools to make them creative and think critically. Remember, we don't have them in our classroom, and we are allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. 6, every student needs ideas or the chance to share their own. We should bear in mind that our students are infinitely more clever than the design of more schools and curriculum, especially now with technology-driven instruction seems to suggest they are, but they are still growing with widely diverse backgrounds of knowledge and schema. More often than not, our students need ideas, and that's all they need, an idea, and for you to get out, of the way. Every student needs a reason. It is important that we listen to our students. Their reasons may not be acceptable to us, but if no one is really, truly listening, barring exceptional natural ambition, why bother? Every student needs a purpose, a reason to do what they do. Allowing our students to give the reason is also a way for them to verbalize what is in their mind and think critically. Sometimes they may invent good reasons, but allowing them to do that exercise of thinking aloud will surely benefit them. Every student is the champion, just like modeling, you know. Along with this, every student needs a champion, someone to believe in them when their own conviction falters. They need somebody to provide them reassurance and confirmation. Every student needs a chance to practice. Every student needs to be active. They want to explore, discover, okay? You know, and most of all, practice, enhance their skills. So allow them to practice and enhance their cognitive, physical, and even emotional practice. Every student needs to play. Okay, I remember play is a good ingredient for students' development, especially in early years. Okay, adjustment and learning. In fact, lots of students learn better through play or games because their mental and physical skills are utilized. Every student needs a sense of agency and self-efficacy. This one bits of a challenge because it's not a teacher action, but an outcome of a bunch of factors that we as teachers have nothing to do with. But without the belief they can is often preceded by complicated notion of self-worth. Everything else is less. Okay, the last one, every student needs hope, a sense that they have a future and some degree of agency and affection in choosing how the future might work out. All these needs are important for every student, single student, to have them positively in order to succeed inside and outside the classroom or any learning environment. Giving the best work from your students, is at the core of great teaching and learning. Common strategies for getting the best work from students during pandemic focus on extrinsic modification and gamification, giving them points, grades, budgets, certificate, etc. Okay, I just put here what gamification is, but I would like to skip on for the interest of time. The gamification is a theory in education is that learners learn best when they are also having fun. Okay, and that's the reason why as teachers, okay, we can adapt, we can gamify our classroom, our online classrooms by using, what are the common things. Okay, in our Zoom we can use Kahoot, quizzes, Quizless, Live, Game It, or even Mentimeter, etc. Okay. As part of redefining teaching and learning, which is the last part of my sharing, would be on some tips of getting the best work from our students that allow them to do their best, okay, and love learning during the pandemic. Okay, sorry, you might hear the sound of our dog. Okay, some are obvious, okay, and provide student choice, and many you may already be doing it. The idea here is to clarify the kinds of teaching practices and learning strategies that give your students the best chance to do their best, consistently do their very best, and grow the most as students over the course of the school year, especially in an online class during pandemic. So I have 18 tips, okay, and hopefully I'll be able to finish it by in 10 minutes. Okay, number one tip, give them authentic voice and choice. To get the best work from our students during this time, authentic voice and choice matter and a big part of this living room for interpretation. Okay. At the end of the day, students can't become great by duplicating your thinking and fulfilling your sense of priority. It has to not just involve them, but depend on how their genius and effort, right? Second, help them see what they are doing and why. Okay, they have to find meaning. Oh, how? Why are they learning? Why are they doing this assignment? Why do they need to submit right away, and so on? So to get the best work from our students during this time is help them see what they're doing and why, see what others have done and how, see what's possible. Help them see what's possible in their class and their assignment, how to work, how the work can benefit them, and most crucially, that they are capable of doing that important work and you're there for them when they need help. Okay? Walang iwanan. Okay? Third, help them create their own standards for quality. Okay? We may have our own quality standards, our standards, but okay, let them create their standards. Okay? They won't naturally know how to do this in their academic work, but it constantly but do it constantly in how they dress, speak to one another, play games, interact socially, and even in an online class. To get the best academic work from your students, ideally they learn to create their own standards for quality academic work, ideally alongside with you as their teacher. Rubrics and scoring guides can help here as well. Okay, start and end their genius and gift. And this includes the gift and resources from their family. Baking, if they own a bakery, tap them. Okay? Construction, if their family owns a construction company. Planting, if their parents are farmers. Okay, entrepreneurship, if their family is an entrepreneur. Next, revisit old work. Keep portfolio of the best work, physical or digital or both. Public and social or private, and just between you of them, then use these bits and pieces to identify the gaps. Find inspiration, pivot for new applications, or simply improve in terms of quality and accuracy. Let them see expert models, okay? If you're building a bridge, if they're building a bridge, for example, or designing a bridge, to get the best from them, let them see an expert or interview an engineer, for example. If they're going to sing or paint or write or act or excavate a farm, let them see the most passionate, driven, and skilled person in those fields and do how. And this is the good thing, because we have so many media influencers, okay, who can influence, okay, who are actually expert models, hopefully in a positive way, okay. Give them personalized feedback, okay. There is personalized feedback, means the right feedback at the right time. And this could be tricky, okay, in terms of format, tone, and duration that works for that student. Whether they're taking a test, finishing a project, or doing something entirely out of the box, the more precise, well-found, and thoughtful learning feedback, the better chance they have to do their own work. Teach diagnostically, okay, like having to employ think, cause, and effect. When they don't understand the assignment, which is the cause, okay, you need to know the cause, they don't ask the right question about the assignment that will happen. That's the effect, for example. When they have too much work in other classes, which is the cause, they rush their work and prone to errors and show much vision or creativity of what they do, but that's the effect. Let them clarify the purpose, okay? If they don't know exactly what they're doing and why, it's hard for them to care. And if they don't care, you can forget about getting their best work. Use rubrics for quality, not for scoring. Can I repeat that? Being an assessment person, okay, I had a dilemma on this initially, but in these pandemic times, okay, you use rubrics, okay, for quality rather than scoring. Okay, in fact, that's the reason why schools encourage not to give, 95, 98, 97 as grades, or 85, 75, 65 as grades, but rather qualitative, like outstanding, excellent, good, very good, and so on. Okay, first, know the difference between a scoring guide and a rubric, then design a rubric that actually supports the student in learning more and doing their best rather than getting a good score. Get it? Let them see models from other students. Okay, this is not cheating. Okay, as I've said, okay, a redefined teaching and learning is a teamwork. Okay, solo performance has no space, has no place in the redefined teaching and learning because during pandemic. While work from expert is useful in one way, work from peers can often more credibility with some students. Do you agree? Okay. Let the school get out of it and get out of school. The more something smells like school, the less likely it is to get the very genius from a student. Okay. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but students, especially high school students, or or even early college students, think of school differently than teachers and parents. The more personal and authentic the reason for learning, the better chance you'll see the very best performance from students. Okay? And that's the reason why whenever I speak to parents or to teachers, make sure that you ask students, performance tasks, okay, that would really encourage the authenticity rather than relying on Google's, on their books, etc. Okay? Think big ideas into, break big ideas into small ideas, okay? Take one of those big ideas and break them into smaller parts. This is often part of unpacking standards. The less overwhelming the work is, and the more frequently students can work on these smaller bits that often end up as part of the fundamental of a big idea, the more likely the students will learn, then actually use what and actually use what they have learned. As I have said, okay, I want one way for us to redefine teaching and learning during pandemic time is, we put more emotion into it. Start with emotion, okay? Make curiosity, joy, passion, consistent currencies in your classroom, okay? Give them points for joy and passion. Don't like the approach, model it, praise it. Help students praise it when they see it in one another. When possible, make or design thinking an integral part of any school task or any assignment, or at least make elements or design thinking impact critical parts of the assignment. You'll know this. Yeah, you'll know this it is working when you see the same assignment produce very different results from different students. Use metacognition before, during, and after important assignments or school time. You can ask these questions. Why are you thinking about this assignment? How did that thought make you feel? How did it remind you of it? When do you the best thinking of the situation? Like, we don't just ask, for example, when we ask a student to make an essay, for example, okay, you can correct it, but the way, okay, you can when you go back to an online class, you can ask them, what did you feel when you were writing this essay? What were you thinking? And what did it remind you? Is it something that you can use in the future? Okay, have them care and get your attention of your students, and don't let it go. Want better work from students? Get their attention and keep it. Make it fun. Add music, video game, go outside, let them go outside, make controversial somehow. Go out and note that it can backfire or distract from the whole point of assignment. Use it intentionally and thoughtfully. Use fun as a backdrop for the experience, not the other way around. Okay. And lastly, design learning to last. Okay, whether through 40-40-40, I don't know if you are okay. The 40-40 concept, meaning to say, means what you want students know and remember. Okay, for 4 days, for 40 days, for 40 months, and 40 years, or probably what you want your students to remember for 40 hours, 40 days, and 40 weeks. Okay. So, as a way for this webinar, how can we be more compassionate to our students in redefining, as our way of redefining, okay, teaching and learning? As teachers, 3 points only: know our students, develop our self-awareness, and lastly, and the most importantly, is you practice self-love. You practice self-love. Okay, my last word to live by, okay, do something today that your future self will thank for. Okay, so for more insights, as I have said, I have shared with you today, please visit and subscribe my YouTube channel, Chai Speaks. You can access it at youtube.com/c/Chai Speaks 1003. So thank you for learning with me. I would be happy to listen to your thoughts and ideas on how can we further redefine teaching and learning that is founded on strict pedagogy, but anchored on compassion and love for students to support them to learn. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Yes, 10:50. Exactly.
Once again, may we give our virtual applause to our speaker, Dr. Richard de la Cruz Gonzalez, the Chief Executive Advisor of InnoChange International Consultants Incorporated. Thank you, sir, for the learning conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We assure
Thank you very
you
much.
that we are leaving this virtual hall full of positivities and hopes in our hearts. And with the insights and the smart, intelligent, and flexible strategies you have imparted in reducing the barriers in teaching this pandemic, we can surely survive in our profession during these difficult times in a DigiFace modality. True enough, sir, teaching this pandemic is a team sport and not a solo performance. And we evaluate using rubrics for quality rather than quantity, or rather than numerical ratings or score. Thank you, sir. As a token of gratitude, we would like to present this certificate of appreciation. Dr. May I read the text? With the theme, Daring the New Unraveled Mentality, DANUM, a psychological resilience model, the Association of International Dynamic Educators Incorporated, Maryland, USA, in cooperation with the Cagayan State University, Philippines, presents this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Richard de la Cruz Gonzalez, RPM, MPMI, the Chief Executive Advisor of InnoChange International Consultants Incorporated, for his invaluable insights, knowledge, and expertise, as well as the time spent as resource speaker on the topic, redefining teaching and learning by reducing barriers during the pandemic, during the AID Incorporated Professional Development Series 2 seminar held on the 15th of January 2022. Signed, Lynn A. Shokon, Global CEO, AID Incorporated.
Thank you. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Sir, we have here a message that if you could share your PowerPoint presentation, we would appreciate it very much. Thank you in advance, sir.
I will be sending to Sir Rodel. Okay, yeah. I will be sending to Sir Rodel the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, again, thank you, sir, and we hope to see you again in our next seminars. Moving on, may we again listen to Dr. Rodel T. Alegado, the Dean of the Graduate School of CSU Sanchez Mira and the Director of Professional Development of AID for the introduction of our second speaker. Sir?
Thank you very much, Doc A. Our next resource speaker was born in Lasam, Cagayan, and married to Municipal Councilor Bong P. Paat, with whom they have two daughters, Ina and Pia. She has 6 government eligibilities as a registered psychologist, registered psychometrician, registered guidance counselor, licensed professional teacher, to mention some of them. She finished 3 master's degrees, MA in Education, major in Administration and Supervision, Master of Arts in Education, major in Guidance and Counseling, and Master of Arts in Psychology, Diploma in Public Management, and a PhD degree in Educational Management at St. Paul University, Philippines. Currently, she holds a Professor to Plantilla position in the Cagayan State University. She has also been elected as a member of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, Asia Pacific Regional Committee, where he served 2 terms from 2007 to 2013 with her international volunteer work. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, she has traveled to almost great places in the world for her professional advancement, and has recently been elected as the president of Girl Scout of the Philippines Cagayan Council, which she considers one of her major volunteer works. For reasons of time, I cannot mention all the decorations her life have to making her a distinct and an excellent professional. Part of her academic role is her being engaged in research and publication as a member of the CSU's Dare to K-12 research team funded by the Commission on Higher Education, with at least 8 Scopus Index and 1 Web of Science publication. She is an advocate of charity events and volunteerism because to her, to whom much is given, much is expected. My dear AID family and friends, it is my pleasure to give you our next resource speaker, the Guidance and Counseling Director of the Cagayan State University, Dr. Febemar Gamyao Paat.
Thank you very much, Sir Rodel. At magandang umaga po sa mga taga-Pilipinas at magandang gabi po sa mga nasa Estados Unidos at sa iba pang luklok ng buong mundo. And I'd like to thank everyone for inviting me to this beautiful engagement with all of you this morning. Particularly, I'd like to thank the good CEO of this aid, Ma'am Lynn Siocon, to Ma'am Narcita Suano, to Ma'am Mariden Kawilan, who was instrumental in this invitation, to Dr. Rodel Alegado, my good friend, to Dr. Edith Pagulayan. And I'd like also to say thank you to Sir Alan de la Cruz for facilitating ably this webinar this morning. And I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Cha Gonzalez. Well, it's not because you are here with us this morning, but so far my best psychology teacher in college. And as I was listening to his very amazing lecture earlier, he was talking about one of the teacher that you actually remember the most when you were in high school or perhaps in college. And I'd like to say that, sir, you have actually impacted a very great difference in my life. I always remember one misdeed that I committed in college, and there was no judgment at all. I hope that Ma'am Edith and Ma'am Mariden won't ask you what about these things. And thank you very much, because you have caused a very big difference and impact in my professional and personal life. And my dear friends, I'd like to acknowledge everyone who is on board on this online learning this morning. Salamat po. Alam ko, medyo inaantok na
Kevin,
kayo.
for a while, please. We
I
have
hope
our
that
participants in the United States of America, so it's not only morning. We have it's evening there. So let's greet our USA participants.
Yeah, I know that it's almost sleeping time there. It's almost bedtime, but I thank you for bearing with us. I hope that I'll be able to finish mine in at least 1.5 hours. Sir Rodel just gave me 1 hour and 15 minutes. I used to run this session for 2 hours, so I actually cut basically many of the slides. And I'd also like married and our VP for ACAD in the university. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a very renowned professor. I think he's your friend, Dr. Cha, Dr. Diaz from the University of the Philippines is with us. She just asked me for the link. I hope you don't mind if I share it with her because they're good buddies with Dr. Cha, and she saw the post. I strongly recommend Ma'am Lynn Shokon that please take her on your next webinar. She's been worldwide and she makes learning and teaching modalities for teachers during this pandemic a lot easier. I have requested. Yeah, Doc Cha nandito po siya, no? And Sir Rodel nandito si Dr. Diaz. So, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat again. And let me be allowed to share my screen now. Working. Oh yeah, I always experience this difficulty every time I share. Sana lang po hindi mag-brown out. We have intermittent connectivity glitches now. Like Ma'am Edith was asking me earlier kung may kuryente kami dito sa aming lugar dito sa Carig. Sabi ko meron, sana lang hindi mag-brown out. I'll be able to get on board through my cellular data, but it's going to be very hard. So again, it's not, yeah. I hope papasok na po siya. Yeah. Okay, the sharing of Dr. Cha focus on how we shall be able to make learning more meaningful and bearable this pandemic journey on a professional level. But I also heard that there were a lot of witnessing and as well as sharing from the rest of you, and some of which are on a personal level. So my sharing with you, my dear friends, this morning is more on a personal level. So we titled it as COVID, the topic 2 as COVID effects busting, thriving and coping amidst the pandemic. So let me now share my screen. I have to ask the people in the house to still to put on their connections. It might be slowing my own connection here. Hindi po siya nag-represent. Nakakahiya. Nasa Pilipinas nga. So I just have to disconnect my other phones as well. Ayan, nagpakita na po siya. Ayan. Some of you, I think, are Ilocano here, no? During the first quarter of the pandemic, we tried to alleviate the situation of our students here at the Cagayan State University by giving the faculty members webinar on the silent screams of the students, because as early as even during the first quarter, we already received a lot of feedback through our Facebook page and even our messenger that a good number of students are already starting to drop because of their inability to connect. And basically po, ang karamihan ng mga estudyante namin dito sa university are below the poverty level. And getting on board by making use of online platforms is quite difficult for them. So isa-isa po ang mga counselors sa bawat campus, nag-feedback po sa amin. So ang una naming ginawa ay nagbigay po kami sa kanila ng webinar na ang titulo ay listening to the silent screams of the students come on board or online learning. And after that, we propose a webinar for all the faculty members across the different campuses of the university. And just after 2 days, after we have given the webinar to the teachers, it's the same title, but we tried to modify it. Sa mga estudyante, sabi nila, hindi na po kami mag-drop kasi si sir sa ma'am, binawasan po niya yung requirements namin at hindi na rin po siya nagre-require na on-cam. Alam niyo po ba na kapag naka-on-cam ay kumakain yan ng data. So halimbawa, yung 30 pesos na pang data ng mga estudyante namin na kung minsan nagagamit nila kapag messenger call lang, ay nagagamit nila yan for 1 week. But once the faculty members or the professors would require them to go online, that is open camera, yung 30 pesos or 90 pesos po yun na pang 1 week ay nauubos pa in 15 minutes. So a lot of teachers have actually dropped a lot of number of requirements for their students to make it possible for their students to still get online even during these most difficult times. So again, naiba ba, Sir Rodel? Sorry po, nag-i-slow po talaga. Okay. Sir Rodel, nakikita pa rin ba yung aking slide?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, is it on the full screen?
No,
No.
hindi siya naka-full screen, Doc Pegs.
No, it's not. It's not.
Ito po,
Okay.
naka-full screen na po siya.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So again, as I mentioned, I'd like to give credits to Before I start, I'd like to give credits to Miss Cathy Sanchez-Babao. Tita Paz, you're familiar with this because we were both on board during the National Girl Scout Convention. And in the session of Miss Cathy Sanchez-Babao, she's actually the daughter of the TV personality, movie personality, Miss Caridad Sanchez, gave us a beautiful session sa Girl Scouts of the Philippines. And she titled her webinar or session, Lessons from the Pandemic. I have always adopted her insights and her teachings, and I have been giving this for almost 2 years, no, for almost 1 year already. And it's from where that I gain inspiration, guys, to share this insights with all of you. So to start with, I'd like to say that looking back, it's been almost 22 months when all of us were taken aback due to the sudden lockdown that was actually brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, the term go out of your comfort zone have become a cliche. Diba, dati-rati kapag medyo nabobore na tayo, hindi tayo nakaka-adjust, sinasabi natin, come on, you can better do it, get out of your comfort zone, and your intelligence, whether IQ or EQ or RQ, can be tested. But this time, parang naging cliche yung go out of your comfort zone, because we've always been told to get on hold and to stay at home. So many of us, for example, have been living in difficult times and in difficult atmospheres, and almost all of us have been off balance. Swerte naman po kung merong isa sa atin dito ang hindi na off balance lahat. Siguro may mga ganun talaga kasi they have meaty bank accounts, they have very strong support system, they have very good interpersonal relationships, and they have the ability to control over the events of their lives. And as tough as and difficult as it may be, the very devastating and unfortunate pandemic taught us to rise above ourselves, hindi po ba? And our character has been tested in so many ways. Why do I say this? Kasi I have heard a lot of speakers who would say na, sabi din ni Sir Richard to kanina, no, na parang yung mga taong dating mababait, naging mas mabait sila during the pandemic because they saw the need of humanity. So parang tipong pigang-piga ka na, wala ka ng sahod, lalo na sa amin dito sa Pilipinas, no? Wala ka na kasing racket eh. Pero nagbibigay ka pa rin. Pero may mga tao rin na they thought that it was the be all and end all of everything, that they thought it was the end of the world. Why do I have to give out to others? Kasi kami rin maghihirap. Paano kapag kami rin ang nagka-COVID? Diba? So I was listening, apart from listening to the very, very nice song of si Sir Ernesto, nakaka-inlove yung song. At the same time, I was having goosebumps because of the prayerful messages of the song. But I was so touched when he said that I'm happy because we are still alive. His family just got resurrected from COVID, and that he dedicated the song to Ma'am Lynn Chocon, who also went difficult times in the recent past. In other words, napakahirap po ang sitwasyon natin, but we don't have any other choice, hindi ho ba? On one side, it has actually ushered us beautiful insights and beautiful lessons, realizations, and gifts in life. We just have to figure them out. If we take a closer look, for example, at the impact of the pandemic, it is actually a beautiful teacher, hindi ho ba? It has filtered and it has taught us a lot of lessons. So we have tried to get rid of a lot of sobra sa ating buhay, extra sa ating buhay, and we have gone to the basics. And it's not only impelling us to be the best teacher that we could ever be, but even to the best, to the most kind individual that have ever existed in this world. So on this end, we realize that we are as members of an academic community, that I know that most of us here are in the academe, which is either we are professors, we are teachers in the elementary and secondary schools, middle schools in the United States, or we are students of the graduate schools, or we are professionals doing different things. We now realize that we are now actually on the heart of recovery in terms of the hassles of information technology or highway, as we are now trying to very hard to diversify the formats of our teaching pedagogy and modalities in order to make life more meaningful and bearable to our clients. So I am about to share with you guys has 4 themes. The first one would be the things that we should already know by now, as Ms. Babaw have mentioned, and in acknowledging these things, dapat ngayon alam na natin to, hindi na tayo dapat nag-aatubiling tanggapin na ito yung katotohanan, so that we shall be able to smoothen and facilitate ours and others adjustments to the new normal. Dati yung new normal last year, ngayon may bagong new normal na kasi there has been moved to in order to reopen classes. In fact, in the United States and some other part of the globe, they have already started having face-to-face classes. In the Philippines, it was a limited face-to-face, but because of the sudden lockdown brought about by this new variant Omicron, medyo naantala na naman ho yung ating pagbubukas ng ating mga klase. The second part would be the lessons among others that Ms. Babaw, and I'm sure most of us have learned over the pandemic journey, over the dreadful course of the pandemic journey in life. The third one would be concepts of stress and the concomitant bite-sized solutions to deal with it. And the fourth part would be some few reminders to ourselves to make us little more vulnerable to embrace the changes that would enable us to live more comfortably and have a cut above the difficulties of today. So ito pa yung sinasabi ng what we now know for sure. Alam na natin yan na dapat it's essential to wear masks. Though some areas of the globe would say human rights and we were supposed to be not wearing this kasi nahirapan kaming huminga and everything. But I think traditionally, most of the countries in this world are still adhering to these protocols. Okay, the first thing that Ms. Babaw have mentioned that we should already know by now is that the world is actually interconnected. The world is undoubtedly interconnected and is for sure very much interconnected, as we now realize more than ever that indeed no one is indispensable. No one is an island, no country is an island, no association like yours is an island. And this very one minute and tiny virus that actually emanated from Wuhan, China, has invaded the whole world and it has forced the world to mask. So nakikita niyo po dyan yung globe naka-mask na siya. And actually this mask and this virus has actually led us to also see the essential things in life. We have witnessed, for example, that when one country, when one province, when one city, when one school, when one association is devastated or has a surge, the other countries and other associations and other people would step in and help, as there's no country, there's no province, or there's no educational institution that is actually left. So at this point, we realize how the presence of others could also be very indispensable. No? So your association, for example, I know have joined the entire world to offer the best help and efforts that you could to both arrest the widespread of the virus and to make this present world more livable and bearable to live. So Dr. Cha have profoundly talk about the best way we could help our clients, our students to still enjoy online learning. I know, my dear friends, that you have been doing that over the past 2 years already. And let us continue to make life more meaningful, even to the least and even to the most vulnerable sectors of society, especially our students who could hardly get online or on synchronous classes because of their financial incapabilities. Now we also manage to spend time with their families, relatives, friends, and acquaintances via connections in technology, through technology like this. Slowly, as everyone is getting vaccinated and getting the latest booster, no? We hope that we shall be able to interact more freely with one another already. So I usually engage my participants, but this time I'm going to cut it a lot shorter in this webinar by calling participants to briefly and quickly share your experiences. So I'd like to call on Mom Zenaida Lucas. Ma'am Zeri, good evening or good morning. Are you still with us, Ma'am?
Yeah, good morning po.
Yes, good morning, Ma'am Zeri. Very quickly po, can you please share us what was the worst experience or the most difficult or perhaps the most challenging experience you had during the pandemic?
It is when the classes were like we were not aware. Of course, not any one of us is expecting the COVID and then all the classes will be suspended. We left the school as if it's just a regular weekend, and we didn't bring any of our things. And so, but we have our computers with us. So our teaching materials and, the lessons, the books, we left them in school. So when we were in our houses, and then we're doing the online learning, again, another problem that we have is that it's so hard to connect to the students, especially our students are students with disabilities. So we have to go to different steps, like we have to call the parents, we have to wake up the students because they're not so used in logging in. It's so hard to communicate with them. And also we have a lot of internet connection problems. But we, everything, we have the training and the support from the school. And we're so happy that, things went through well. Thank you.
Very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Ma'am Zeni. I know that a lot of us can actually relate to your experiences. Maraming salamat po. What's a good thing is that you are tech savvy. That's why it did not take long for you to get on board as well. And the provision of technological gadgets meant actually a lot. Okay, this time can I call on Ma'am our CEO, Ma'am Lynn Chocon? Magandang gabi po pag nasa US po kayo.
Yes, good morning, Jan, sa inyo. The problem that I encountered actually is teaching online when the students are just off camera, and when you call them, they don't respond. So you never know who is in there, and the learning is very slow in that case. So, you have the target, we have the SLO, we're looking forward that their score will go up, and the requirements part of our goal as a teacher. But it's kind of frustration to the part of the teacher, to my part, that I'm teaching special ed, but in this kind of pandemic, in this kind of virtual, you can see them when you ask them to do or assign them their task, then they off their camera, technical difficulties, and so on. All the alibis you can heard from them, parents and students. So what else we can do?
Thank you, Ma'am Lynn. No, so I think since we are all educators here, we can also relate to the sharing of Ma'am Lynn here. When I started having my my online class with the undergrad. Since the pandemic, I used to have students in the graduate school. But for this first sem, I was given 2 loads that's on research. This is writing 1 with the undergrad. And then pinapanood pala ako ng anak ko kasi ninenervyos na ako. Wala pang 5 minutes. Walang gustong sumagot. Sabi ko, Mami, keep cool. Sabi ng anak ko, paki-off mo yung camera mo kasi nakikita na yung reaction mo, sabi niya. Kasi kapag sa undergrad, okay, ay sa graduate school, okay lang yan. Sumasagot sila. Ang ganda. Nung nagka-undergrad talaga, ay naku, ganito pala kapwerhiso. So, you know, I gain more meaning about dealing with undergrads, especially if they are sa US nga, ang yayaman. Paano kayo sa Philippines, di ba? Walang-wala sila. Parang sasabihin nila, ma'am, bago kami mag-onboard sa online class, ma'am, mawawala po ako after 15 minutes at 30 minutes. Wala kang magagawa. In other words, we have tried to adapt to this situation. And for the last person that I'd like to call on to answer the same question is, can I call on Sir Bernie Sabaco? Sir Bernie?
Oh, I'm actually female po.
Sorry, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One thing, you know, like nobody, I think nobody was prepared for online classes, right? But and yet, I and everybody experienced and jumped in and took on the challenge despite of all the challenges. But I was looking at it on a more, you know, positive outlook where there's a silver lining. Teachers learned how to, you know, support each other through Facebook. You know, there's a lot of, we've had a lot of resources provided by many. You know, it's basically a collaborative effort from everyone else. Like whatever you need, just search it up. It's right there. So on my end, it was indeed challenging, but at the same time, it's a blessing in disguise because we've learned another way of reconnecting, not only within the US, not only within the Philippines, but, you know, we've connected worldwide, right? So it is really a perfect platform to, you know, like make connections between schools to schools, universities to universities. So to me, it was, that's the best silver lining I could, you know, share. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Bernie. And salamat po sa mga nagagandahang insights natin about the most difficult experience. Kakaiba po, no? When I was doing this kind of webinar to the different agencies and schools in the Philippines, alam niyo po yung kanilang, this is not to spill the bean, and I hope that I'm not breaking confidentiality. Anyway, I'm not saying which school or which agency. Alam niyo po, ang pinakamahirap na kanilang karanasan ay not on their profession. It's more on a personal and family level, how to make both ends meet. And it's more on the connectivity of their children in terms of online classes. So anyway, your beautiful responses and sharing is bringing us to this next slide, which says humans are adaptive and life is more flexible than we ever thought it could be. Hindi ho ba? Nakapag-adjust ho tayo. Talagang sobrang Ilocano ka, kung magburyot ka idin, ang nervyos ka, yung walang unwanted anger, unwanted fears, unwarranted emotions are all coming into the fore. But you know, with God's grace and perhaps with a very strong support system from friends and from family, like Mom Bernie was saying, like we get support system from having friends on Facebook and Messenger on social media connections, we were able to deal with it squarely. Well, we're not entirely done with it. We continue to survive and we continue to adapt. But what's very beautiful, my friends, is that with all the changes that have come over the past 22 months and with all the circumstances that we have adapted and adjusted with, whether be at home, school, at work, or as members of associations, as president, as vice president, as CEO, or whatever, or even in the style we parent our kids, we communicate with other people, we deal with our volunteer works. Isn't it that we almost found a 360 twist of or degree turn of doing things? And yet, guys, look, we are able to manage until this. So who would example? Who would imagine, for example, that all of us who are trying to fight shy of the basics of technology, especially yung mga hindi IT or tech savvy dito, nakagaya ko dito, to fight shy the basics of technology before are now hanging on with the use of it. We can't actually, to be honest po, this is just my third month trying to make use of this Mac thing. No? I usually make use of the traditional laptop kasi every time I write on it, I encode on it, hindi ko mahanap next time kasi sa dami ng command. But this time, marunong na rin akong mag-screen mirroring, marunong na rin akong gumamit ng canvas and everything. Nakakatuwa lang po. So, kasi dati-rati binabayaran ko yung mga anak ko para gumawa ng PowerPoint ko. Ganon. So I'm blessing in disguise. So wala silang dalawa ngayon. So I was forced to do this thing. So at the very first quarter of the pandemic last year, or even up till now, my dear friends, we made a lot of scapegoats for not doing very well in the things we are supposed to be responsibly doing, both personally and professionally. Like, sobrang stress ako sa kaiisip na mag-positive kami. So pasensya ka na. Pasensya na kayo, hindi ko talaga nagawa ng maayos yan. Or kung minsan, sinasabi natin, wala pa akong tulog, pwede ba? Diba? Or anak, malalaki na kayo, pwede kayo magluto, maglaba naman, di ba? Spare some time kasi, parang we make use of the pandemic as a escape. Or pwede ba konting konsiderasyon naman, bigyan mo ako ng palugit, saka ako nabayaran yung utang ko sa'yo. Kasi wala na akong racket hindi na ako minsan di ako nakakalabas, wala ako sa bangko. Kung meron naman po dito sa atin, ang may kapamilya, kamag-anak, or katrabaho o kakilala, na nagsasabing, nahihirapan po silang mag-adjust sa pagbabago, siguro tulungan na natin sila. Let's try to help them get on board because mas mahihirapan pa sila sa mga susunod na panahon kasi andito na po yung second normal natin. In other words, we should try to hurry up and buckle up ourselves. As professionals or working people, we should be in a position to help others adjust in the most gentle and caring ways we could. With or without pandemic, nandyan po yung stress, hindi ho ba? So even the people who actually were most fine and were most okay long before the pandemic came along are actually baffled, are actually off proportion or even off balance until today. Let us remember that no one was ever prepared for this unfortunate eventuality, like Mom Bernie was saying and Mom Lynn was saying, even Mom Zenny was saying earlier. Thus, instead of putting down and judging on others because of their incapabilities to do things the way we want them to do, or we rather strive to help each other and be each other's keeper. So, well, many of us are struggling with other challenges in life. Let us try to maintain tenacity, yung kapit lang mentality na sinasabi. Marami po sa ating mga katrabaho, sa ating mga estudyante, who have also what we call psychosocial comorbidities. We've always been talking about physical comorbidities like mag-ingat kapag ma-infect kasi madadali ka talaga. My husband and my kid were also in the hospital last November, and we reached the level that we almost died. And on my third day, inoffered ko na sa Diyos ang buhay ko. Sabi ko, kunin mo na ako, pagod na ako. My husband was also suffered experience the same thing on his fifth day. It's good enough that our daughter did not experience pneumonia. Nag-remdesivir po kami. So hanggang ngayon, nakahiga ako most of the time. That's why I'm asking Ma'am Mari din na kung minsan diretso yung aking work from home para ma-rest. Kahit nasa office po ako, after signing something, I have to sit down. Kakaiba po pala yung effect ng remdesivir tsaka yung pneumonia vaccine na pneumonia treatment na nakuha namin. So it was the second for my husband, the second for my older daughter. So right when we were still at the hospital, my sister is also working as a nurse lawyer in the US, have to book the kids to go there. Para sabi niya, pinapatay nyo na yung mga bata. Every now and then, nakahawaan na sila kasi kalabas-labas nyo. So they're not right now. And well, doon nakakalabas sila, not as much as they can go out from here, but they're still very cautious. No? So yung tipong habang po kayo ay pumapasok, nagbubuwis pa rin po kayo ng buhay. Kasi some of you would commute, especially those of us in the Philippines, we go to work every day, nakikisalamuha pa rin tayo po sa ibang tao. At kayo po ay lubusang nakakatulong para maihatid at maipagpatuloy ang pag-aaral ng ating mga eskwela at mga estudyante para maitawid at makamtan ang kanilang mga hangarin sa buhay despite these difficulties. So now we're moving on to the next. There's this bahay ko, opisina, paaralan ko. For the graduate school students, I think you're hearing this for the second time, no? So there's this bahay ko, opisina, paaralan ko concept. Sino ko sa atin dito, lalo yung mga nasa Pilipinas, na when we had our houses erected, our houses built, sinabi nyo sa architect or engineer nyo, engineer, maglagay ka nga ng office ko dyan, engineer, maglagay ka nga ng school para sa mga anak ko dyan. Wala, di ba? Unless you're really a business person, a lawyer, or an architect that you really need a special spot in your house to serve as your office. Wala. Nako, nung dumating yung bahay ko, opisina, paaralan ko concept, na-stress tayong lahat. Meron kang 5 anak, sabi ni Doc Cha, o 3 anak, di ba? Sabay-sabay silang nag-o-online. Mahina ang internet connection. Nag-aaway-away po ang mga mag-aanak dito sa Pilipinas. Ang hina ng Wi-Fi connection. And then, tapos meron pang brown out here and there. Tapos walang space, di ba? Kasi kadalasan, saan nag-aaral yung mga anak natin? Sa silid tulugan. Or kung minsan dun sa sala. Ngayon, 3, 4, tapos meron kang grade 1 na tinuturuan mong magbasa. Paano may ikakabit yung A sa SO? Aso, bahay, school. I have a friend who's a doctor. Halos naghiwalay po sila kasi meron silang 5-year-old child na magre-grade 1. Marunong siya sa ABC 1, 2, 3 and whatever. But when the mom was starting to teach the child how to connect words and syllables and phrases, she could not do it because she's not a grade 1 teacher. So sabi ng galit na galit siya sa asawa niya, hindi porket binibigyan mo ako ng pera na ako na lang ang may responsibilidad na magturong mag-aral ang anak mo. So, you know, they went into family counseling. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to fabricate. I know this because we have been doing telecounseling over the past 2 years. So, and then there's this bahay ko, opisina, paaralan ko na naka-stress kasi nagdala tayo ng mga work sa bahay. Sabi nga kanina ni Ma'am Zen, meron silang mga gadgets pero kung minsan, nako, di ba yung commands, tapos the difficulty of telling them to come on time and everything. So the shift from work office to house office and the school classroom to house schooling, we call as bahay ko, opisina, paaralan ko, has likewise given us a different kind of perspective. The work from home has been for real for quite some time. Though we now see the slightest possibility of having the limited face-to-face encounters soon, we remain locked down with teaching and learning through our virtual and modular means. So the way we do our work has also been very structured. In the Philippines, it's from 8 to 5. This time, there's work from home, there's a skeletal force at na-enjoy na natin ang magplantita, maging plantito, na-enjoy na natin magbe-bake, na-enjoy na rin natin ang mag-online selling. At kung kadalasan kapag may klase ka, nagagalit ka na. Diba? So sinasabi mo sa mga estudyante mo, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. Yung pala nag-online selling ka. So sabi ng mga estudyante, hala ma'am, ibagbaga na ngahan kami maka-online ko, nakita mi mo digit time ti pag-online selling na digit ko magit time di classes mi. Yun yung time na nagklaklase kami, nagsisell siya, nagbe-bake siya, and then nag-post siya na may bumili pala ng mga pastries niya. Nakakatuwa lang. In the same manner, the faculty members are also reporting to us, webinar kayo ng webinar, hindi lang naman kami ang may loophole dyan, hindi lang naman kami ang may kamali. Mga estudyante namin, sabi nila, hindi sila makakonect. And yung nakikita kong nagti-TikTok, the same time na nagkaklase kami, may pinost siyang nagti-TikTok siya. So we have to check on all of these things, no? So again, the differences in terms of our work structure has also given us a lot of toll and it has caused us a lot of stress. Kaya tayo ho na off balance. So you must be privy about what actually happened in one famous university in the Philippines when 10 students, college students, committed suicide. So they just needed a break and sabi nga nung kanilang student, leader, president, sabi niya is, hindi ho biro yung stress na na-experience namin ngayon. So again, even the way we socialize with other people has taken a different format. Okay, this time I'm going to call on participants again. Can I please call on the Ma'am Ramona Tabang? Ma'am Romana, good morning po, good evening po.
Hello, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ang tanong ko po sa inyo, I know that you did a lot of beautiful and great things during the pandemic, pero ano ho yung kino-consider nyo the most beautiful thing that you have ever done since we had the lockdown last year?
Oh, the lockdown, the most beautiful things. Sinabi mo na, naging plantita ako. And also, about teaching naman, it's like we learn a lot from the online platform. It wasn't dati parang imposible to deliver teaching online. So now it's easier. And then dito sa States, we went back to face-to-face. But then we already have a lot of platform to use. So it was easier after the what you call that, the pandemic thing, the first virtual delivery, and then we went back to face-to-face. It was easier kasi we already have a lot of platform. Ang dami na namin pwedeng paglaruan to make the lesson more fun for the students. So I think there's always a positive thing in a very ugly picture.
Thank you, Ma'am Romana. As you were saying, like, being able to sustain your ability to get on board online classes is one of the apart from being a plantita. So I see beautiful
Yeah.
plants in your back.
That's why ang tagal ko nag-open ng mic. Nagdidilig ako ng halaman from my background. Can you see that from my background?
Yeah, it's just beautiful. Yeah, beautiful plants. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this. Thank you, Mom. This
You're
time
welcome.
can I call on Sir Judy Banyes? Sir Judy.
Yes po, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes, the same question po. What actually do you think as the most beautiful and the greatest thing you have done in the course of the pandemic season?
I am not an educator. I am just a student right now at CSU sa San Jasmira campus. I belong to the religious congregation, and the goodness and humanity darkness that I have done is that since I am a religious priest, I made sure that I am an extension of the hands, so to speak, of God to other people, like providing their necessities, whatever that I can. That's the thing that I have done so far, as far as the goodness or the things that I have learned during this pandemic situation that we are in.
Thank you very much, Sir Judy, and thank you for the spiritual guidance. I know that it meant a lot to those who have tried to minister. This time, can I call on Sir Bear Badu? Sir Bear? Yeah, baka medyo
Yes,
nawala. Yes,
good
the same
morning
question
po.
po, sir. Yeah.
The question, what's the best thing that happened because of this pandemic? Sometimes we have to look into the positive side of everything that's happening. And maybe one of the best things is that we were able to maximize the use of our technology, especially in conducting teaching and learning sessions with our students.
Thank you, sir. So again, your beautiful sharing is bringing us to this current slide, which says there is goodness and humanity even in the darkness. In the past, these are actually the slides that were used in our NCC. No? So again, it's saying that we have seen a lot of this goodness and good examples as we have been recipients of this from friends, even from strangers and families over the past 2 years. Ayuda has actually become the name of the game, and community pantries have been actually introduced all over the world. I hope that many of us, for example, are giving tips to the riders who are bringing the food or our online orders. Kadalasan pag dumarating yung mga online orders ng anak ko na pinagbibigyan ko sila nung umpisa. Pero Diyos ko, nung pagkatapos ng 2 months na order na, ayoko na kasi wala nang budget, di ba? So sabi ko, tikman nyo naman yung, kasi nung una parang naawa ka lang kasi why in this unfortunate situation na naging biktima ang ating mga anak. I used to say na, alam niyo ho sa akin on a personal level, no? Ang nakikita kong talagang biktima dito mga teenagers sa mga senior citizens. Mga senior citizens, they were prohibited to go out. So, you know, instead of spending the rest of their days and years going out, banding with friends, traveling, hindi sila pinayagan. Tapos yung mga teenagers who are supposed to be partying with friends, doing the recs and staying over at the houses of their friends, sila yung hindi pinayagan only lately. No? So sabi ko, naawa ako. Ang dami-dami ho. There were a lot of students who were trying to think of, you know, stopping from school. One of the worst counseling session that I had is worst and most perhaps overwhelming was when a mother called us because her 2 sons have finally dropped from school. They are schooling in Manila, but because of the lockdown, they came here in the province. And then nag-drop na ko sila kasi nahook sila sa online games. Anong ginawa ng tatay? Ang tatay ay nagtatrabaho sa Manila bilang isang lawyer. Ang worry na kasi ng nanay ay yung high school niya na grade 12, gusto na ring mag-drop kasi yung 2 kuya nag-drop. So in other words, we were able to convince the boy not to drop, and now he is schooled in one of the schools here in Tuguegarao as a first-year college student. Hindi siya nag-drop. Yung anak kasing 2, bumalik na rin pero na-waste yung 1 year nila. So you know, you pity the mom because she was actually helpless, and he was saying like, my kids are threatening me that they're gonna cut, you know, their everything, their life if I force them. And one student also said, sa tanang buhay ko, ngayon ko lang naranasan na mabore ng ganito. So, nung una, first 2 weeks, okay pa lang, nandiyan ang TikTok, nandiyan ang social media, but then eventually they get tired of, watching all of these things and nag-sink in na sa kanila na may pag-asa pa ba kami sa buhay? Makakagraduate pa ba kami? Especially those in already in 4th year college and 5th year college who are supposed to be having their internship on OJT. So, mga tipong ganun ho ay yung mga nararanasan nila. And people have been very, very kind and there was goodness and humanity because the teachers actually tried to modify their learning modalities. Sabi ni Dr. Rudolph Pecaldo dito sa amin sa CSU Andrews, naku ma'am, yung 5 requirement, ginawa ko na lang na 2. So sabi din ng mga HIM teachers namin, yung pinapabuhidyo namin na cooking ma'am, instead na every week, once a month na lang. Instead na twice a week yung online, ginagawa namin once in 2 weeks na lang. So ang ganda po ng humanity na nangyari. Maraming salamat po sa mga ayuda nyo na pinadala nyo dito sa Cagayan to Gigaraw during the Ulysses season. It was almost unbearable, but the world came to Cagayan because of the connection of people and because of your help. Thank you for the goodness and that you did and the humanity that you have let us experience. So ito yung sinasabi ko, kapag nag-order tayo, magbigay naman tayo ng konting tips sa mga riders or kapag nagro-grocery. Kapag nagmamalimos sa Philippines, for example, hindi na tayo nagbigay, binura pa natin. Anong sinasabi natin? Nagtakal di ba game? Di ba? Inka-aglaba, inka-agtrabaho. Magtrabaho ka, ang laki mong bulas. Di ba? Dinerbal abuse mo na, hindi ka pa nagbigay ni 5 o ni piso or dito sa Philippines. May mga nakakaritelang moving around to selling meat, selling fishes. Anako, tinatawaran natin yung kanilang tinda ng 5 pesos or 10 pesos. Bigay na natin. Tayo kasi may inaasahan pa rin kahit papano. Even banks have extended the payments of loans or amortizations. In Manulife, for example, where I am an insurance agent, we have stretched the payment of premiums from 1 month to 2 months. There was a time na naging 3 months pa. So let us continue to find ways to help other people in any way we can. We can, for example, try to suspend our negative judgment towards other people. Yung bang ang dami-dami natin, for example, ang dami mong followers kasi ang dami mong ganap sa buhay. Let us try to make na yung pinopost natin are of good influence to people, are good example, and are good things to live by. Yung hindi porket ang dami-dami mong ganap na makabuluhan, hindi yung puro Chenelin at Marites ang ginagawa natin. Let us try to remember that we reveal our true selves with the things that we post on Facebook or social media. Sabi nga ni Father Reginald Malikdem sa Manila Cathedral Online Mass, mag-ingat tayo sa ating mga binibitawang salita, lalo na ngayong may pandemya, dahil kung ano ang ating bukang bibig ay siya ang laman ng ating dibdib. So we're not trying to be self-righteous here, but as mentors or handlers of the next generation, I think we have a very great responsibility to mirror the good in us in order that they live a meaningful life in the future. So, meron ding isang nagsabing a church minister, kasi I do a lot of online attendance to religious things just to ease my stress most of the time. Sabi niya, Father, paano po kami magiging masaya ngayon? Parang wala na tayong karapatang maging masaya ngayon dahil may pandemya. Ang sabi niya, alam niyo, one best way and one sure way to be happy during the pandemic, you help others in any way you can. Magaling ka sa research, tulungan mo yung kapwa guro mo na walang oras mag-research. Magaling kang halimbawa, mag-bake, magbenta ka. Pero tayo naman, na may mga kaibigan nagbebenta ng mga pastries or pasta, wag na kayong humingi ng free taste. Kadalasan, kayo yung unang nagko-comment free taste. Sino bang bibili pag free taste lahat? Bumili ka, tulungan mo yung kaibigan mo. Parang tipong ganon. So now, sabi ko, nagkaroon ngayon ng devastation because of that Typhoon Odette. Maraming mga friends na sino mag-organize, parang wala kaming nakikitang mag-organize. So we have to pull our 100 pesos together, our 50 pesos together, and send to people whom we know in those devastated areas. Parang ganun lang po. So let us try at this framework. If we happen to see a problem, perhaps we can be part of the solution. Halimbawa, you're heading towards your church, you're heading towards your work, meron kang isang nakitang beggar or meron kang isang nakitang nakawalo or nakahulog ng important documents or wallet. So you saw the problem. And perhaps this is the way I look at it, Pastor Judy. Kapag nakikita natin ang problema, nasisilayan natin ang isang problema, perhaps ginawa yun ng Diyos na maksilayan natin, makita natin because we can be part of the solution. So let us try to rise over the occasion and show kindness and goodness to other people. Kindness, according to Ms. Babo, is the currency of the times that we now live in, and that we hope that we can do more kindness towards other people in the days to come. Life is precious. Practice gratitude each day. Di ba, parang ang practice kasi natin is tuwing nagdadasal tayo, anong inuuna natin? Lord, sana ma-spare yung family ko sa COVID. Lord, sana tuloy-tuloy yung aking trabaho. Lord, sana safe and everybody else. And little did we know that, you know, it's a lot better if we extend our gratitude to the one above first before we say our intentions and prayers. So how many people, for example, have died over the past year or even the past months or even just this week, recent weeks? At times we hesitate to figure out anymore how many of our friends and friends of our friends have gone ahead of us. Personally, I've lost more than 20 people that I intimately know, and a number of them are again in quarantine centers like now. Every time we open our phones, our Facebook page, we see that black picture with a lighted vigil candle, signifying that the account owner has just lost someone near, dear or near him. Time and again, we get a message to pray for someone or asking for ayuda in any form. It's hard to lose one family member. How much more if there are 2 or 3 of them? It's draining, hindi ba? But it also focuses us on the real essential things in life. We also realize that more than ever, we are now living on a borrowed and limited time. Therefore, we have to make the most out of it and the most out of with the people we live and we love. We have worked with a number of students I mentioned earlier and adults who have been nearly depressed during the pandemic. And we're glad that no matter how tough they have been through, we were able to serve them. We are able to serve them as their human crutches in single moment of their life. Alam niyo ho, itong pandemic na to, ang dami ho nating emotions, hindi ho ba? Sasabihin ko towards the end of my sharing na it's okay to feel being angry. It's okay to feel being annoyed. It's okay to feel being rejected. It's okay to be feeling down. But let's not make those feelings persist for a number of weeks. Kapag ang galit po kasi at yung hindi magandang nararanasan ay nag-persist beyond two weeks already, it's time to see a professional. Kaya lang, one of the most abused word these days is the word stress. Parang konting bagay lang, na-stress ako. Hindi ka lang nakatulog ng isang gabi, na-stress ka na. Hindi mo lang naipas yung requirement mo sa isang, nang late ka ng isang araw, na-stress ka. Mag-ingat po tayo sa paggamit ng word na stress. Kasi very contagious yan at nakaka-contaminate yan. Kung ang iniisip mo, lagi kang na-stress at bibig mo ito kahit saan ka magpunta, yung mga taong nakakasalamuha mo araw-araw, na-i-stress din sila dahil sa kasasabi mo ng stress. Could it be just, you would just say, you know, I'm not feeling good right now. You know, I was not able to sleep. Like you exactly say the word how you feel and don't make use of the word stress because it's very contaminating. It's very contagious. So actually, kapag hindi ka lang na-stress, may anxiety ka na. Kapag nag-prolong yung anxiety, meron ka ng depression. After depression, you now have what we call suicidal ideation. And for some people, they actually consummate the act of suicide. For some, it's just an attempt. So it's here where we try to be more careful about the word we use during this pandemic. So, and among our students, one of the most stressful experience that they have is if they cannot get on board at time. So may mga teachers daw na ang klase natin ay 7:30. Kapag wala pa kayo ng 7:30, di ko nakukita ang mukha nyo, absent na kayo. So may isang teacher sasabihin niya, pag 5 ng absence ng late mo, drop ka na. Gagawin mo yan ngayong pandemic, maawa naman ho tayo sa kanila. Kasi karamihan po sa kanila, lalo na yung mga estudyante namin sa CSU, nagwo-working student sila ngayon, nagkakatulong ho sila just to be able to get the 30 pesos and 90 pesos to be able to get that cellular load, no, data na sinasabi para mag-online classes po sila. So for those of us who are actually feeling more comfortable in life, the least thing that we can do is to be kind to other people and to ask them how they feel. So I know this and I'm private to this because we have been dealing personally with cases like this in the university. Again, at this burdensome episode of our lives, it's important to practice gratitude. Sabi ni Ms. Babaw, kapag bago tayo matulog kinagabihan, isipin natin yung mga bagay-bagay na kailangan natin ipagpasalamat. Salamat po, nagka-COVID kami pero buhay pa rin kami. Salamat Lord, alam mo yung pinagdadasal ko ho ngayon, yung pananampalataya ko hindi magwe-waver. Kasi if we are put on a test, parang you tend to question God, di ba Sir Judy? Parang are you there Lord? If you really love humanity, if you really love all of us, why all of this thing happen? Why is this thing happening? Diba? Why did you get my parents right away? Why did we get this kind of infection? Or so let's thank the Lord. Sabi nga ng isang counselor ko during the first meeting after the lockdown, I asked them, what are you thankful for? No? Sabi niya, nagpapasalamat ako sa Lord, ma'am, kasi kumakain pa rin kami ng 3 beses isang araw. Hindi lang yon, meron pa kaming dessert. Diba? Dati wala kaming dessert. Or dati walang in-between snacks. Ngayon, nagnonood kami ng Netflix, so meron pa kaming midnight snack. Parang tipong ganon. Yung isang counselor sabi niya, nagpapasalamat ako sa Diyos, ma'am, kasi dati, I don't usually give leftovers sa mga neighbors namin. Kahit hindi panis at hindi namin nahawakan, tinatapon namin. Ngayon, namimigay na po ako. So, ang ganda kong realization. So, there's a lot of things to be thankful to the Lord. That we're still sane, that we are still able to get connected with our friends here and abroad, and that we are still in graduate school. This is actually a luxury right now that we have to take advantage of. So again, ano-ano ang halimbawa ng dapat nating ipagpapasalamat? Salamat po hindi ako nag-entertain ng negative thoughts. Kasi kadalasan ganun, no? We harbor ill feelings over the past. Itaga mo sa buto, pamamatay na ako, hindi pa rin kita mapapatawad. But during the course of pandemic, na-realize natin na let's let go of things like those. It's not giving us any good sense of self. Salamat Lord, may vitamins pa rin kami. Salamat Lord, hindi kami nag-a-accept ng bribe. Salamat Lord, nasasagot ko yung mga text messages. If we do this now for 21 straight days, that is, we mean if we keep on repeating the same act of gratitude every day before we retire to bed and we rise from bed in the morning, then our brain will be rewarded, and that we shall be more grateful. Kaya nga, if we have watched the video of Dr. Willie Ong last night, he is COVID infected and Omicron, di ba? Omicron. So sabi niya, ginagawa ko ng mag-live ngayon kasi hindi ko alam kung sa susunod na mga araw ay makaka-live pa ako. Tapos anong sinabi niya doon? Handa na rin ako kasi wala naman akong ginawang masama. Parang ganun ang sinasabi niya eh. So an act of gratitude changes our perspective and our view of the world. Kindness should really be put into sharp focus at all at this time. Okay, so moving on, the things that we learned from COVID, actually basically learned by Ms. Babaw, and I think we could also relate with this like never before, that family matters more than we realize. Diba? Anong dinadasal natin? Pamilya, hindi sarili. Diba? That's why we live a good life, para hindi ma-stain ang reputation ng ating family. Hindi tayo nagnanakaw, hindi tayo gumagawa ng masama sa kapwa-tao natin. Kasi we think of our family, especially if you have young children. Diba? If you have young children, let's think of their future. Again, because of the challenges of the times, we were all forced to a state where we have to be all at home. The situation inevitably forced families to be at home, even in the case of transient workers. Adult kids are back from universities in the Manila or all over the world and be with us. And that we have actually the exclusive franchise of serving their needs once more on a 24/7 basis. Spouses and partners are critical to their well-being. That is, we hope that we got to know more of each other as partners, as spouses. And for those of us who are married and with partners, I hope that we have also espoused other beautiful experiences over this pandemic. We have to live genuinely in peace at home because we have to set good example to our students. But this is not also to discount the fact na, domestic violence have increased. Why? Because yung mga dating nagbubugbugang mag-asawa, na dati nakaka-escape yung asawang babae kasi may trabaho, okay? Ngayon, hindi. So nakikita yan ng mga anak, and it's very unfortunate, di ba? So there could also be those who belong to broken families, who come from vulnerable situations like economically deprived, those at the verge of committing suicide due to personal or marital squabbles, or at least they have suicidal ideations. Ito po yung mga psychosocial comorbidities na sinasabi natin. And the last one is family time may just be the best medicine for all. We are now given the luxury of time to spend with our family members. Ang saya-saya. Pero, when I did this to one college in Antipolo, sabi ng isang tatay who is already a federal government retiree from the United States and came to the Philippines before the lockdown, sabi niya, alam mo ma'am, for 2 months na nandito ako before lockdown, nag-e-enjoy akong hatid sundo yung mga anak ko sa school, di ba? And I was really trying to serve all of them. Ngayon, toxic na rin kasi 5 minutes lang na hindi ka nakikita, hinahanap ka, asan si tatay, asan si daddy? Diba? Isang nanay sabi din niya, ang trabaho daw niya dati is hatid school dan yung mga anak. And pagdating sa bahay, natutulog na. This time, hindi na ako makatulog kasi napaka-demanding yung mga bata. So, ang daming samot-saring lumabas, no? But I guess, one beautiful thing is that you will see this in the video that I am going to share in a little while. There's a lot of opportunities to love and know each other. We now share as well the viable space more than ever. We hope that we have tried to re-espouse also our roles as employees. Now, this time, I'm going to show you a short video. You please let me know, Sir Rodel and Sir Dr. Alan, if the sound is doing well.
Yes, we will.
Focus on the video po.
Grandpa, who was it like back then?
It was a hard time. It seemed to come out of nowhere. and it turned our lives upside down. Everyone was scared. I lost my job. Everyone I knew lost something or someone.
Rebs, no sound.
Back then, in my memory, that was the year of family. Remember this. You can never take anything for granted. When times get tough, you'll see what really matters.
So I hope you appreciated the short video. I just have to stop it that time. I'm having difficulty with this. This is by getting to the next slide every time. So the videos, I hope I was not promoting Jollibee here, but it's like you know the message is just too impactful, and it's fast forward 20 or 50 years from now, when the grandfather was conversing with his grandson, because he was saying like, how was it back then, and referring to the very situations that we are in right now. How was it back then? And the grandfather was saying it was pretty hard. It came out of nowhere, and it was actually unfathomable. And the grandfather was saying, no, the grandfather was saying it came out of nowhere, and that everyone he knew then lost something or somewhere, something or someone, and while waiting for someone to save them, they save each other, and without knowing it, they were actually trying to make meaning out of it. And it was the grandfather was also saying that we are not supposed to take anything for granted, and that when things get tough, we actually know what are the essential things in life. So it's a beautiful lesson from YouTube, from the commercial of Jollibee, showing us that even in times of difficulties and unfortunate situations like the pandemic situation, we can still make the best out of the people that we love. So Again, the other thing that we are supposed to have learned is that we hope that we have learned what we call the self-care. I know that you guys are pretty much knowledgeable about a lot of self-care already. We have done a lot of things in order to be able to deal with this pandemic journey. So an author mentioned that not only does self-care have positive outcomes for us, but it also sets a good example for the younger generation. Pag nakikita ko kasi ng mga younger generation, mga anak po natin na pinapanghalagaan natin ang ating mga sarili, hindi rin nila papabayaan ang kanilang mga sarili. So while some folks, for example, would think that self-care is a waste of time, it's a selfish thing to do, actually it's not. As employees in private and public agencies, it's important that the younger generation can model from us. If they can see from us that we take good care of ourselves, we take good care of our bodies as temples of the Holy Spirit, we take good care of our thoughts and even our actions, no doubt that they will do the same thing during the prime time of their lives. It's significant to practice self-care, especially when going through difficult times like this. And in practicing self-care, we try to fill in our emotional tanks with positivity as well. Also, let's try to move on with the self-limiting behavior like, hindi ko kaya, di ba? Hindi ako makakatapos, hirap na ako. I am doomed to this fate, kakambal ko ang malas. Ang dami nating naririnig na ganyan ngayon. So, if we also succeed, let's try to amplify our voices. Let's make them known through our social media connections. Eating regularly, my dear friends, is one way of self-care. It may sound very simple, but getting enough nutrition gives us the energy to get us through the tougher days ahead. There should always be something that's left for us. Kasi kabilaan ho kasi ang demand ngayon eh. Somebody would ask you from left, from right, from up, from down. So magtira po sa ating mga sarili. Ito yung tinatawag natin na self-care na sinasabi natin. There's so much stress and uncertainties, thus it sucks a lot of our energies. Parang kung battery ho sana, di ba? Battery ng cellphone. Mas importante pa yun kaysa sa sariling battery natin. And you're actually, agburyot ka, nagagalit ka kung wala nang, nadre-drain ka na hindi mo alam, tapos nag-brown out, no? Unannounced ba to? Ba't di sinabi, di ako nakapag-charge? Eh, ganun din po sa atin. Pero ngayon ho, kahit 75 lang ang charge natin, okay na. Let's not try to aim for 100% battery charge of ourselves kasi times are not, difficult times are not perfect right now. So, there's this what we call self-care. Now, let's try to pause and stop. Are you still feeling okay? Or nagpre-pretend lang tayong okay? And one way to be okay is let's not try to force ourselves to do a lot of things every day. You know, one beautiful example that I have learned over this pandemic is, before po kasi, kapag meron honto ko hindi nagagawa, nagagalit ako sa mga taong nasa paligid ko, anak ko, employees ko, kuminsan, hindi man ako gumagawa ng masamang action, nakikita nila sa mukha ko. Pero ngayon, sinusulat ko yung mga gagawin ko kinabukasan, 10 halimbawa, 2 lang nagawa ko. Nagagalit pa ba ako? Hindi na! Kasi nag-COVID na ako eh. I realize what's actually important in life already. So I do the things that I'm not able to on a Monday, on a Tuesday. If I can't do it on a Tuesday, then until even on Friday. Kasi these are not so much essential. So halimbawa, manonood ako ng linagay ko to Netflix tonight before I retire to bed. Anong Netflix ko ngayon? The Penthouse, di ba? Kasi sabi ng sister ko, kung nakita mo kung gaano ka-high-end yung mga bahay sa Sky Castle, tignan mo ang Penthouse. So ngayon, kadalasan kapag hindi ko magawa yan, yung uulitin ko kinabukasan. Hindi na ako nagagalit, di ba? So sasabihin ko, I'll fix the things of the kids where they are not here. Hindi ko nagagawa, di ba? So ipopostpone ko yan, sasabihin ko. Pero I make it a point that I'll be able to accomplish that thing at least within the week. So the first step to self-care is to self-help is self-care. Wag nating abusuhin. Alam na natin yan, di ba? So, kaya lang, may mga cases po tayo ng battered wife syndrome. Ano po yung battered wife syndrome? Away-bati, away-bati. So, magre-report, ma'am, hihiwalayan ko na talaga. Ma'am, magre-report na ako sa women's desk. Ma'am, ire-report. Tuloy mo na yung pagre-report mo sa police. Ma'am, talagang magpa-file na ako ng annulment. So, you know, after one day and they had sex and she would say, no, I am thinking a bit na wag na muna kasi kawawa yung mga bata. So, after the sex, then they go on battering again. Then, after battering, then there's sex again. So, again, the battered wife syndrome na sinasabi natin. So, in these difficult times, those emotions could be legit, no? Legitimate yung emotions na yun, but let's help others. Okay? And one way also to do self-care, I was able to Google this. I know you know. So, in passing, let's do this quickly. Corona tips, self-care tips in the Corona lockdown. At take a break from the internet. Sino ko sa inyo dito ang kagaya ko na nung unang lockdown, pinanood natin lahat ng mga cases, causes, ilan ang namatay, hindi ka na makakatulog sa gabi, di ba? Kape ka ng kape kasi ayaw mo na. Yung mga ganun ba, di ba? It sucks us, di ba? It it went up to 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, madaling araw, hindi ka pa rin tulog kasi you enjoy watching these negative shows and negative news before you go to sleep. Take a break from the internet. You don't become less of a person. You don't become less of who you are if you absent yourself from reading all of these things, especially now na may surge na naman. So, tsaka yung bang meron pa yung sino pa yung alpha person na ati do, type A person na hindi ka makatulog pag hindi mo nakita yung latest news sa gabi, tapos hindi ka na rin makakatulog. Makikita mo naman yung news kinabukasan tsaka wala ka na magawa, nangyari na yon. You cannot reverse what has happened over the day. So panoorin mo na lang kinabukasan. So let's try to beware of this, what we call the FOMO, no? Fear of missing out. Parang feeling mo you become less of who you are if you miss something on the internet, social media, kasi nahuli ka sa chismis, sa marites ni Thinking Pinoy or whatever. So hindi na ho. Let's try to get a break from the internet, and let's try to look for legitimate sources of news and information. Write what we are grateful for. Kung hindi ho kayo masulat, hindi kayo mahilig mag-journal, pwedeng bilangin na lang. Ano yung mga dapat ipagpasalamat natin? Ako, gabing-gabi na inaantok na kayo, sorry po, sana 30 minutes na lang po. I'm grateful about that, and I'm grateful being invited in this forum. So in this pandemic, emotions are actually heightened and intensified. Yung dating nagagalit ka, na doble na triple yan ngayon. Yung parang walang karason-rason, bigla kang nagagalit. So sabi ng mga anak mo, saan ba nanggagaling ang galit ni mami? Or saan ba nanggagaling ang galit ni boss? So it brings about a threat in our lives. And what are the actually, so in order to bust this, in order to combat this, let's just think of the other side, write what we are grateful for. Then get some fresh air. Sabi nga nila, sitting is the new smoking nowadays. And most of the time, since we are locked down at home, we sit most of the time. So let's try to walk and get some fresh air in order for better circulation of our blood and oxygen in the body. Avoid excessive alcohol and caffeine. Hindi tayo nagpapatigil. Avoid lang yung sobra-sobra kasi nakaka-trigger po ng stress yan. Don't underestimate your resilience. Ang dami na ho nating napagdaanan, kaya natin ho. Mga tipong ganon. Be someone's hero silently to some people. Let's try to move our body. Hindi ako kinesthetic person, pero lately, kailangan ko nang gumalaw kasi I have to regain my stamina from COVID. So yung walking at least 15 or 30 minutes a day could do. Okay, you can still open your Spotify, your music, seek support, and stay social. It does not make you less of a CEO. It doesn't make you less of a president. It doesn't make you less of a lawyer or a nurse or a doctor if we seek support and stay social, which means to say that if we figure out that we are in need of help already, ito po, okay, when we are stressed, alamin yung source ng stress natin. Sinong nag-i-stress sa inyo? Kailan kayo nai-stress? Gaano kadalas kayo nai-stress? At saan kayo nai-stress? Para ma-figure out natin. Hindi yung sinasabi mong na-stress talaga ako, inis na inis ako, galit na galit. Kanino ka nai-stress? Sa isang Facebook friend mo na panay pa rin ang post niya ng Birkins, ng kanyang Louis Vuitton, ng kanyang Chanel and everything. I-unfriend mo meantime. Huwag mo siyang i-block ha. Para hindi ka na ma-stress. Kasi kahit nga pandemic, nag-uumapaw pa rin yung kanyang collection, nakakainis kaya eh. She has the means eh, di ba? Nakapangasawa siya ng mayaman, tsaka ang ganda ng trabaho niya eh. Di ba? Parang tipong ganon. Or, anong nakaka-stress sa mga estudyante? Yung faculty member na magpo-post sa kanyang timeline, deadline of requirement is Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. No extension. Okay? Ngayon, ang estudyante, sinend niya yung requirement sa email. Ang gusto ng teacher sa messenger, di ba? So masyadong loaded yung kanyang file. So sa email niya. Ngayon, siniro niya yung estudyante kasi hindi siya nag-send sa messenger, sa email. Doon ang mga causes ng mga stress ng mga estudyante namin. You accept kung anong mahalaga, kung anong medyo bearable sa mga estudyante. Do not insist on what we want. Rather, we perhaps should ask them what to where they feel more comfortable. So, in terms of person, psychological stress po yung tao. Kung nai-stress kayo sa isang tao, i-hide nyo muna sa Facebook nyo. Huwag nyo siyang i-block para hindi mo lang makita yung pinopost niya. Kailan kayo nai-stress? Tuwing after sahod. Bakit ba tuwing after sahod? Kasi parang sungka na i-distribute na yung sahod mo sa mga utang. Or tuwing sahod, nai-stress ka kasi nakikita mo yung mga deductions, di ba? So tuwing sahod, di ba? Ano na lang gawin mo? Kumuha ka ng friends. Mag-coffee outside kayo, mag-dine out kayo kung pwede pa para malesen yung stress na, sohron na naman bukas, wala na naman ako matatanggap dahil ang dami-daming loan. Or kailan kayo nai-stress, di ba? Kapag tuition time ng mga anak. So what do we do? So before even tuition time, dapat naka-ready na yung pang tuition para you don't get attacked and you don't get the stress that much during tuition time. Keep in touch with friends and family. I have clients who would say, more than ever, we get in contact with one another every day na kasi di natin alam kung mamamatay tayo, kung kailan mawawala yung isang member ng isang family and everything. So, and then the next one is give yourself a permission to cry. It does not discount your credibility as a person, your position of higher authority if you guys would cry. In fact, this is cathartic and this is therapeutic. And the most beautiful thing that I have heard about crying is as a form of prayer. I don't know, Pastor Judy, if this is true na kapag punong-puno na yung sakit ng dibdib natin, ang bigat-bigat na iiyak mo, alam ng Diyos yan. Iyak mo na lang. But sometimes if kids would say, you try to explain to them that mom is not feeling well kasi they might misconstrue as, you know, just got a fight over something with the dad or you're not actually in good terms with many people. So crying is both therapeutic and cathartic as mentioned. It also helps us cleanse our impending emotions and negative emotions. So again, it doesn't make us less of who we are if we cry. Bear in mind, my dear friends, that no matter how we do well our job, there will always be point that other people wouldn't like us. Ito yung monitorship and mentoring. Kahit sa akala mo ang ganda-ganda na, sabi ng boss mo palpak, di ba? So, may mga boss ka eh. Kahit ikaw ang boss, may boss ka pa rin. So, we don't work for perfection, but we could only work for excellence. So, no matter how we try to work harder, some people would still look at our work as a form of mediocrity. Therefore, that the only thing that we can perhaps do is to give our best shots to life. We don't settle for mediocrity. And that would be fine. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. Alam niyo ho kung bakit mas maraming mga mental patients sa mental hospitals sa buong mundo. So dito, for example, sa CBMC, punta ka sa psychiatry department. There are 50 male and there are only 10 female. Kunyari, or there are 100 male and there are 50 female. Why are there more male mental patients than female? Because male have lower frustration tolerance. Kapag kunyari lang, nanlalaki si Mrs., hindi niya yan ipapangalandakan sa Facebook. Pero kung babae, Diyos ko, ichichika niya yan sa buong mundo. Kukontakin niya lahat ng friends niya, sana si Mr. ay may ganito, sasabihin niya doon sa Facebook, ahas kang babae ka. Tapos sasabihin naman ng mga kamarites niya, name mo na, sabihin mo na kung sino siya. So we have a way na, we have a lot of outlet to say our frustrations and our problems. And basically, male has lower frustration tolerance kasi they were built with that kind of ego na bawal umiyak ang lalaki. It doesn't make you less of a man if you cry, di ba? The thing is that don't cry as much as women would cry naman. So, ito po yung busting natin dyan. How do we bust this kind of COVID effect? If we have children at home and if they don't feel well, tell them to cry because it's therapeutic. So you don't follow them, you don't kurut them if they cry. So I used to say that if there is one most critical moment in the life of people that we live now is now. So let's be kind because they won't need the kindness in as much as they would be needing right now. Yung bang tipong, sabihin natin saan mo ba kami dinadala, Panginoon? Hindi na ho namin kaya, so iiyak mo na lang ka kuminsan, okay? Next, we can bust the COVID effect by trying to help others if we still can. I know that you guys have been trying to work a lot towards helping others. Yung mga, di ba, sinasabi ko minsan, apay mo yung takki kami ti kwarta? Kunahayo kuno ka kadagita pamilya yung Pilipinas, no? Alam mo sa akala nyo, tumatay kami ko ganito ang pera, hingi kayo ng hingi, wala na kayong ginawa, kundi tumawag lang kayo kapag nangingi kayo ng pera. Di ba? Well, that's it. That's the Filipino mentality. Di ba? Pasensya na po, ang ganda ng buhay nyo dyan sa abroad. One time, sabi ko sa brother ko, when he was still in the UK, sabi ko, Aris, ba't di ka nag-overtime? Para mas marami kang pambili ng ganito. Ang dami kong sinabi. Alam nyo, hiyang-hiya ako. Binalikan ako ng kapatid ko. Sabi niya, Manang, ano pa bang hiningi mong hindi ko binigay? Di ba? Alam mo naman, yung mga konti-konting bagay lang, ano pang hindi ko pwedeng isipin, hindi ko kayang isipin na pag 50 years old na ako, hindi na ako makapag-work, hindi na ako makagalaw dahil ino-overwork ko ang sarili ko. What a very nice self-care. Hiyang-hiya ako. That was almost 15 years ago. So from that time on, sabi ko, kahit nakikita ko most of the time, nag-overtime yung mga friends niya, hindi hinahayaan ko na siya. Kasi hiyang-hiya ako. Let's try to be someone's silent hero. You don't need to do grand things. Hindi natin kailangang mag-donate ng millions, hindi natin kailangang ma-engrave ang pangalan natin sa paaralan at may banner at tarpaulin na ang laki-laki dyan. Let's be someone's hero in our own little way. Let's try to help the vulnerable ones, those who cannot afford even to get online in their classes. Okay, next, reap the benefits of laughter by watching funny videos. Ilocano po ako, pinapanood ko si Auntie Banget, di ba? Natutuwa din ako kay Ivana Alawi kasi yung kanyang mga generosity at yung mga charity work. I like Bea Alonso. I like the way she her acting ability. And lately, nakita ko si Genevieve Family Vlogs, yung nakapangasawa ng isang foreigner sa US na, Diyos ko, pati pagkain, binoblog niya. Ang galing niyang kumanta at sumayaw. Yun na lang pinapanood ko kadalasan. But when we were at the hospital, my husband like spend most of his time watching on the political blogs of people that he admires. Declutter a pesky part of your home. We know this, di ba? Feng Shui would say na kapag open, maraming spirits. One time sabi ko, "Oy, Bong, sa asawa ko kasi politician. Konsehal lang naman sa isang municipality dito, no. No big deal." Sabi ko, "Ibigay mo tong mga lumang damit." Sabi niya sa akin, "Feb, hindi kailangan ng tao ng damit ngayon, kailangan nila pagkain." Natuwa naman ako. Dumating ang Ulysses, at least nakapagbigay. Start to maintain your home garden. Be plantitos, be plantitas, be halamares, be halapares, no? I know a lot of you have done this and it's nice. Nakaka-divert din po ng COVID stress. Sleep. This is not just an ordinary sleep that we're talking about. We try to bust the COVID effect by trying to make a restorative and do a kind of a quality sleep. Paano po tayo nakaka-sleep ng quality? Huwag kang manood ng nakakatakot bago ka matulog. Huwag mong isipin yung frustrations mo sa buhay bago ka matulog. Huwag mong isipin yung mga kaaway mo bago ka matulog. Huwag mong isipin yung mga naging negative encounter mo during the day. Kasi this will lead you to beautiful sleep. Roman Catholic po ako, no? There was a time na hindi ako makatulog. Sabi ng isang former student ko, "Ma'am, panuurin mo yung sermon ni Bishop Ambo sa Caloocan," di ba? Hala, trinay ko for the first time. Kasi yung sermon niya, homily lang. So it ranges from 5 to 10 minutes. Wala pang 2 minutes tulog na ako. Sabi ko, "Patawarin mo ako, Lord." Di ako. Pero sabi kasi ng friend ko, pampatulog. It gives you the grace. Then one time, di ako makatulog. Sabi ng friend ko, "Mag-rosary ka." Di ba pampatulog yung rosary? Hala, Lord, sabi ko, "Patawarin mo ako." Pero it gives you the grace because what you're asking from the Lord is to give you a good sleep so that you can do things better the following day. So of course, you do the rosary when you are not sleepy. Para maganda rin, may meaning. Pero kung hindi ka talaga ginawa ko talaga yon. So anyway, para mabas natin po itong difficulty to sleep is, let's try to read off of negative thoughts before we sleep. And speaking of sleep, if you have kids at home, if you have young children, young grandchildren, you gather them before you sleep. You ask them how they felt about during the day. Not only the beautiful things, kasi kapag beautiful things lang ang tinatanong natin, magsisinungaling sila. Because si Lola, si Mami, si Daddy, ayaw niyang makarinig na na-zero ako. Kasi mawawalan ako ng baon, magagalit sila. So, what was difficult during the day? So, for example, Ma'am Florentina, Ma'am Vinza, now you ask your kids or your grandchildren, what part of the day did you find it most difficult? Saan ba mahirap yung class? You ask them of their difficulties and if they're able to air out all of these things, they can enjoy sleep at nighttime. Okay, a lot of people would say, "I don't like meetings and webinars on Saturdays and Sundays. It's non-negotiable." Parang sasabihin, it's my free time, it's my family time, it's my quality time. I'd like to rebut that. Anytime is a quality time as long as we spend this meaningfully and beautifully with the people we meet. And the best time is before we sleep. So halimbawa, yung mga anak natin, sobrang gagang-gaga sila sa kanilang mga gadgets. So sabi niyo, "Anak, anong gusto mong may pinapabili ka sa akin?" "Oo, okay. Can we gather for at least 5 minutes or 15 minutes before we sleep?" You hug them, you say, "I love you" to them. And they bring these good memories in sleep so that we get rid of nightmares. Alam niyo kung bakit ang sama-sama ng mga panaginip natin kung minsan ang dami nating kinakatakutan na mag-end of the world, or sometimes we have very bad dreams because basically we didn't have good memories before even we slept. We went to bed at that night. So the thing is that say, "I love you," you hug each other, and yung sinasabi nilang kapag may mag-away kayo mag-asawa, you have to come into terms with another. Depende naman paano kapag deep-seated naman, di ba? Parang okay kayo, tapos kinabukasan away na naman, tapos dahil matutulog lang kayo, baka mamamatay yung partner mo, hindi sa ganon. So the point is that let's try to have good memories before we sleep, and especially among young children, because this is very essential in trying to add to our immune system. Acknowledge the uncertainty. Sino ko sa atin dito ang hindi pa nakakatanggap na nasa COVID situation tayo? It's actually very difficult and it's been almost impossible for a lot of people to live. Kung tanggap po nating may pandemic, mas madadali na yung buhay natin, and let's look forward na this is going to be over. Because if we are able to accept that there is this uncertainties in our lives, what happens is that we can move on and we can pray for it. Kasi kapag a lot of people would say, inaantay kong babalik ang nakaraan and do the traditional way of doing things again. It's only when there is acceptance of reality that we can start to do productive and meaningful activities again. Hindi ho ba? So next is make a physical do-to list and cross things off. In order for us not to be so much stressed, kagaya ko, 53 years old na ako, I had 2 cesarean with my 2 daughters, may lapses po ako sa memory. And then this pandemic, nag-remdesivir ako, ang daming pneumonia na treatment na binigay sa amin. Parang kung minsan sabi ko, ano yung ulam natin? Chapsoy. Ano yung ulam natin? Ampalaya, hindi ko nasasabi kung minsan. May mga ganun pala. And nagtanong na rin ako, so ang ginagawa ko na, sinusulat ko yung mga anong gagawin ko kinabukasan. OA, di ba? Pero it helps eh. So when I wake up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, tumatanda na po tayo, maaga na tayong nagigising. Ang una kong kinukuha ay yung cellphone ko. So bakit po yung cellphone ang una kong kinukuha? Kasi dito sa cellphone ko, sa Messenger, may nagpapadala po sa akin ng devotional reading every day. Si Miss Marivic Benosa, who belongs to the United Methodist Church. Parang kinukuha po niya sa didache or sa upper room. Binabasa ko po yun, wala pang 1 minute. May 1 Bible verse, may explanation, tapos may witnessing, may experience yung author, and then a short prayer. What I do after that is I post it on my timeline, and then 4 groups, yung research group ko, yung mga kasama kong counselors, yung volunteer workers na kasama ko sa Girl Scouts of the Philippines, tsaka yung aking charity work group. So 5 minutes lang na nawawala yun. After 6 o'clock, for example, tatawagan ako, Ate Febs, wala pa yung prayer natin. Ay, natutuwa ako kasi hindi lang pala sila nagla-like, binabasa din pala nila. After that is I attend the online mass. And then I do household chores also. I help the kasambahay. And then when I'm work from home, I do virtual meetings. I do classes. And then I also do telecounseling. I do webinars. And then as the situation calls for it, we do random acts of charity. I do a lot of random calls. I do a lot of spiritual activities online. And I still do a lot of social media. Like I do Netflix, I do Facebook. Dati-rati po, kapag hindi ko nagagawa ang mga ito, nagagalit ako, nininervyos ako, ngayon hindi na. Anong ginagawa ko pag nagawa ko? Check. And then, binibilugan ko, hindi ko nagagawa, i-transfer ko sa next page for the whole day. Pag may nagawa akong out of the blue na maganda, may star siya. So over the past few months, I've been doing a lot of webinars for different topics, for different institutions, agencies here and abroad. So these are just some of these things. So it has helped me a lot ward off some effects of COVID. Okay, mental health refers to cognitive, emotional, and behavioral well-being. Ang mental health ho, isip lang ho yan. Okay? We're not talking about physical health. Kung ang isang bagay, positive ang pagtingin mo, maganda yung pakiramdam mo, at maganda yung action mo. Pero kung hate na hate mo ang isang tao, okay, nagpapalpitate ka, mag-increase yung BP mo, sisiraan mo yan, and you move against the person. So it's simply as that po. So it refers to how we feel, how we think, and how we behave. So you would say, I hate this person. When you say you hate that person, it's not actually the heart that's hating, it's the mind. Because a part of our brain that actually feels is the hypothalamus. So that it's still a part of, so kaya lang jahin namang sasabihin, I love you with all my hypothalamus. So you'd say, I love you with all my heart, because it's actually the heart that beats when you're actually fully in love or when you hate someone else. So it's a connection of the brain and the action. If you look at the pandemic as a situation, as the be-all and end of everything, as the end of everything, you don't feel good about life. And if you don't feel good about life, you don't become productive anymore. So that's what we call mental health. So, well, it's easier said than done. When you say retrain your brain by being negative to positive, it takes some time, but you know, it's nice to start right now. Okay, so that when we have bad mental health, it affects almost all aspects of our lives, appetite, sleep, energy level, and even our relationship with other people. When our mental health suffers, it can become very hard to enjoy life, my dear friends. So there's what we call the stress. Bakit ko tayo nai-stress ngayong pandemic? Kasi we're not ready for this, di ba? And when there's stress, it requires a change. And when there's a change, there's adjustment. It's not easy to adjust. Remember, my friends, when you first boarded your plane, going to the United States, going to Japan, going to Singapore, it was not actually easy because you have to deal with a lot of not just of the culture, but also the people there. And this is what we call, it can cause stress. There's what we call physical stress. Halimbawa, sa maghapon, wala ka namang ginawang mabigat, di ka nagbuhat, hindi ka nagtrabaho ng manual labor, pero sumasakit ang batok, ang ulo, ang katawan. That's what you call physical stress. And how to deal with this very quickly is you can do eating, di ba? Food tripping. You can move, just move your body. Okay, sabi ni Dr. Willie Wong, isang way to trick daw ngayon is you move your head from left to right for at least 10 times. Sabi niya, to train daw our brain. And then maglakad lang, kung hindi ka naman mahilig mag-jogging, maglakad-lakad. Or you can do, organize a Zoom makeover, a Zoom cooking, a Zoom Zumba, mga tipong ganon. Okay, then there's what we call psychological stress. Kung nai-stress ka po sa isang tao, sa isang lugar, sa isang event, you hate Valentine's because that was the day when you broke up with your first boyfriend. You hate Rizal Park because that was the day when you saw your mister, you know, cuddling another younger lady or whatever. These are what we call psychological stress. You hate so much the time when we had pandemic. These are what we call psychological stress. And how do we deal with this? Very quickly, emotional. Pwede kang pumunta sa isang sulok, namnamin mo yung negative emotions mo. Huwag mo siyang i-deny. Huwag mo siyang i-deny. Kung magulgol ka, umiyak ka, magmukmuk ka lang, magmura ka. Okay? Or you call friends, you do group call, or you can go for telecounseling, or now if it's permitted, you can go for counseling. Now, when do you actually have to see a professional for help? When your emotions, negative emotions, when you are incapacitated already to do your family, personal, and vocational things for more than 2 weeks, that's the time to see a psychologist already or a psychiatrist, no? And pero kung isang gabi, dalawang gabi lang, huwag muna, kayang-kaya mo lang, tinetest ka lang, di ba? So mental, it's from shift of negative to positive, okay? So every time you think of the day that you were betrayed, that you were not promoted, that you got sick, that you almost died, then think of the time that you were released from the hospital. Think of the time that your kids graduated with honors, instead of brooding ill about those not given promotions for all of you. Parang tipong ganun ho. And then if you can do yoga, okay, or what's actually important with mental is me time. Kahit wala si Mr., kahit wala si Mrs., mag-isa ka, enjoy mo yung mga bagay-bagay na ginagawa mo na hindi mo kailangang i-deprive ang sarili mo. So kasi mga nanay kung minsan, hindi na ako bibili, sayang pa, pang ulam na lang namin, di ba? Tapos pagdating mo sa bahay, nag-away-away yung mga anak mo, anong sinabi mo? Hindi na nga ako kumain, hindi ko na kinain, hindi ko na binili, gusto kong bilhin dahil sa inyo, tapos ganyan pa kayo. Sino nagsabing hindi mo kakainin yun, di ba? So as long as hindi wala naman hong kalabisan. Sabi ng sister ko dyan sa latest post niya sa kanyang timeline, is it still okay to add to your cart? Di ba? To add to your cart. Sige, online shopping pa rin. Di ba? Spiritual, saving the best for last. Lahat ng tao ginawa ng kayang kakayahan. The best medical experts, the best scientists have done their best in order to deal with this COVID-19 thing. But they have not succeeded. What we only have are vaccines and booster in order to be protected from the adverse effects of the virus. We used to do all of these things before we resort to God. This time, my dear friends, let's try to do the reverse. It's just like saying, let's run to God. Let's all run to God and bring to God our sentiments, our hardships. Di na namin kaya, Lord. Kung magtatagal pa to, hindi na namin alam kung kakayanin pa ng energy namin. And it's also nice, my dear friends, to join a community of believers. And then let them know when you're suffering, when you're sacrificing, because when they pray for you, they're also blessed. Okay? When people pray for us, the people who are praying for us are actually blessed. So it's nice to go for mga tipong ganito. We can manage to go to face-to-face masses or religious activities in our own churches. Then we can do online. So let's bring everything to God. Yung mga worries natin, anxieties, and let's do it on a personal way. Magdasal tayo, hindi lang yung rhetoric na prayers natin. Sa Catholic, di ba, meron tayong mga prayers that we say every now and then. This time is gawin natin personal, no? Sabihin natin, tsaka let's also pray for the people, hindi lang sa atin. Kasi this is it, no? According to Eric Erickson, when you get into the age of 40 to 60, the task that we are supposed to accomplish is what we call generativity versus stagnation. And generativity would mean, I wish I can discuss the entire thing with you, but I'm only picking up the states of midlife, 40 to 60. It's like mentoring the next generation. Kasi tapos ka na sa sarili mo eh. So kung teacher ka, kung social worker ka, kung lay minister ka, kung pari ka at nasa 40, wala na ang center sa sarili mo. Dapat nasa anak mo, nasa sa pamilya mo na, nasa ibang tao na. And if you are able to fulfill that, you're champion of generativity. So that in the last stage, which is actually integrity versus despair, then you can say before the Lord, thank you, Lord, for this gift of life. It may not have been perfect. I may not have been the most amiable and successful person in the world, but I know that I have done my part, because during the 40 to 60 years of age, you were able to do your part in order to contribute for the betterment of the society or the larger context of society. So prayer will do a lot. At this point in time, wala na tayong ibang pang patutunguhan kundi at kailangan kundi ang Diyos. Okay? So remember, my dear friends, that we get stressed because not only of COVID-19, but the effects of COVID-19. Ang daming nawalan ng trabaho, yung mga nagkakairingan na mag-asawa, magkapamilya, lumala ang kanilang sitwasyon. Okay? So remember, my dear friends, that technology is a friend and there's no turning back. According to Ms. Babao, digital solutions have become the first choice, which means to say, we cannot afford to be dumbbell about technology. Magpaturo tayo sa ating mga apo at anak. Di ba? Kung minsan ayaw nila, bakit hindi nyo kasi alam? Nagagalit sila. Sabi ko, sige, danto lang kayat mo, danto lang paghatang mo, may papabili ka lang, tignan mo dyan. So mapipilitan silang tuturuan tayo. Nakakainis, di ba? Okay, the COVID-19 tech boom. We are now able to see each other because of Google Meets like this. So earlier, for example, no, We saw the dignitaries in this assembly, okay? The different dignitaries in this assembly welcoming us. It's not moving. How come? Okay, so we see all of us. I'm sorry that not all of us were on open cam kanina. No? So I was able to get some few shots only. No? On this. I'm sorry, it did not work. Okay, and then there's this what we call add to cart. No? Meron na to before pandemic, the rise of GCash, okay, and other modalities of payment, telehealth, because a lot of doctors wouldn't like to see unless you present what we call a negative antigen test. So, ang daming telehealth counseling. Crowds will return but will gather carefully. Ang dami nang na-booster sa atin pero we don't still make beso-beso when we see each other. Natuto na rin ho tayo. It's good. And masks and sanitizers will be the norm for many years. Don't expect the same old things to be there. Let's help people who are waiting the old things to be back. Let's try to retrain our brain. Okay, so this time I'm going to call on participants. We're winding up, don't worry. Ma'am Lynn.
Yes po.
Yeah, what do you look forward to when, for example, COVID is finally gone?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What do you look forward to do when COVID is finally gone?
Travel around the world.
Yeah.
Travel back to the Philippines, conduct seminars, and mission.
Yeah, that's nice. So
Mission
for
with
those of
pleasure in the Philippines.
That's nice. Okay. So I know that a lot of us have postponed our travels. This time we realize we should not be postponing things when it's for good. This time, can I call on our singer, si Sir Ernesto? Sir Ernesto, are you still with us? Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Hello po.
Pakailangan ko ng
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. It's the same question po. What is one thing that you look forward to do when, for example, COVID will begin for a while or for forever?
The first thing that I would like to do is to pray and thank God that we are able to survive, and perhaps I am going to go home to the Philippines and meet all my family there, my brothers and sisters, their children, and maybe visit Cagayan State University, our alma mater, and if there is a chance to travel to other countries in Europe, that's what our plans. This year, before the pandemic, we were planning to travel to Spain, to other parts in the United Kingdom, also in Israel. So hopefully we'll be able to do what we are going to. Our just like Lynn said, that we have a mission. I think there is a reason why we survive with this pandemic, and hopefully we will really survive, because a lot of my friends passed away because of COVID, so it's really hard. And,
Okay.
yeah,
Sir.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I hope I can listen to your beautiful song again. Okay. So yeah, it's traveling. Yeah. When you get the time you go to Santorini, it's actually beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah. Can I also call on Ma'am Isabella Mangonon? Ma'am Isabella Mangonon, are you still with us, ma'am? Yeah, it's the CEO, our good CEO, Ma'am Babes. Are you with us? Are you still with us, Ma'am Babes?
Wala na.
Okay. This time, Sir Rodel, are you with us? You must be with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listening
we
to you.
are.
Yeah, we're still
We are
around.
here.
Yeah. So, Ma'am Mariden, if there's one thing that you look forward to do after the COVID is done, what is that?
To do,
Yeah.
to travel a bit, probably. We've been frozen for a while. But at the same time, I look forward to having um, renewed renewed people, renewed environment, invigorated community. Yeah, it sounds ideal, but that's something that I look forward to after the pandemic because of the lessons we learned in during this time of pandemic. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr. Mel.
ma'am. Yeah, thank you. And again, congratulations for a new beautiful house. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Paz Diaz, are you still with us, Dr. Paz? She's the one who I was acknowledged earlier. She's a University of the Philippines professor and a renowned prof English communications.
Yes.
Yes, Doc Paz, good morning.
Don't say my my CV.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Doc,
Ano?
Dr. Paz. Yeah, I'm asking the same question.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We're good. What are you looking forward to do right after, if in case pandemic is gone or will be out for a while? That you cannot do right now.
I have to see my doctor. I have to, well, yeah, I have to check on my health because I haven't been really doing, but not so bad naman, not so bad. And then I have to see the eye doctor, and then you see, I'm 80 years old, so what else will I do? Probably go to the department store and go window shopping, which I haven't done for a long time.
Yeah, because I know that.
Pero, tayo muna. On top of it all, sorry ngayon ko lang talaga naisip. Of course, I have to go to church. I haven't been to church for such a long time. Visit the Blessed Sacrament, attend Mass, and, receive Holy Communion in person. Kasi I haven't done that for almost 2 years already.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Paz. We hang on with this. Yeah, we hang on with those wishes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna come through in sooner. Sooner,
Yes.
not later. Thank you for joining us. And the last person thank you po. The last person that I'd like to call on to share with us is si Ma'am Sonia D. Majo. Are you still with us, Ma'am Sonia?
Yes, I would like to pray, for many things that we get, things I am not sick. And even though I work around the many children, so God can help me. And I would like to understand, and others want to become a better person also. I would like to help everybody who needs something. If I am able to do it, I will do it.
Thank you very much, Mom. Okay, so again, let's try to hang on with this, and let's keep them in our hearts and in prayer, so that very soon we shall be able to do all of these things that we wish to do, granting that COVID will be gone. Okay, I'm winding up, my dear friends. So my last words would be that it's okay to ask for help. It doesn't make us less of who we are. If we know that we are in need of help, just ask help from people whom you feel confident that we're not going to spill the beans, or not going to talk about you when things will not be okay between the both of you. It's okay not to be perfect. We are not living in perfect times. We're not living in ideal times. So it's okay not to be perfect. Let's try to be kinder to ourselves, as long as we try to do our best shots in everything that we do. It's okay not to have all the answers. We are limited in a lot of resources right now. So professionally, family-wise, personally-wise, let's try to understand that we don't have all the connections, we don't have all the resources right now. So if we find short in terms of the answers of the things that we're trying to answer nowadays, it's fine. It's okay to have bad days because it's showing a real character. It's okay to make mistakes, but my dear friends, let's not commit the same mistake over and over again. And the last slide says, it's okay not to be okay. The K-drama would say, it's okay not to be okay, but I'd like to make a phrase, it's okay not to be okay, but don't stay that way.
It's 12
Okay?
hours.
So again, if we are in need of help, let's try to consult experts. We have psychologists, you have your friends, you have your superiors, we have counselors, we have mentors. Remember, my dear friends, that if you find it difficult to adjust to your new normal, it's never too late to reach out for support. Magandang hapon po dito sa Pilipinas at magandang madaling araw or hating gabi na rin po sa ibang lugar sa mundo. Thank you for this meaningful engagement with all of you. We pray that you're all safe and your family will always be protected and safe. So maraming salamat po for this opportunity.
Again, let us put our heads together.
Sir
for
Alan.
Dr.
Sir Alan, I
Yes,
see Ma'am Babes here. Ma'am Babes, I called you earlier. I'd like to listen to your answer, Ma'am Babes.
Yes,
and I answered you, but you moved on to Rodel, and then you moved on to
Sorry.
again.
Oh, say sorry, ma'am. So sorry. So we can now listen to your response. What do you look forward to after COVID is gone?
I look forward to traveling to submitting my grandkids to their parents in Australia.
Wow.
They're with me. They're here with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir Alan, take it away.
Okay, so as I was saying, let's put our virtual applause again for Dr. Marl Paat, the Director of Guidance and Counseling Center of CSU. What a wonderful sharing and engaging exchange of ideas from the participants and the speaker. Try to look at our chat room. Very active ating mga participants. Again, thank you, ma'am, for the insights and the inspiration to thrive or to grow, develop, and be successful amidst this pandemic. True enough, there is goodness and humanity even in the darkest times of our lives. That behind every difficulty is a silver lining. Another takeaway from this presentation is to be always grateful to God. Be the blessing is great or small. Life is precious, life is good, and every gising is a blessing. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Peña Francia doon sa ating chat room. Self-care is not selfish, so love ourselves, give ourselves a break. And most of all, ang pinakagusto ko ay yung sinabi ni Ma'am Febe, that join a group of believers. All of this and more, thank you, Ma'am Febe, for the self-reflective sharing as pointed out by Ma'am Herwin in the chat room. Life enriching talk, sabi naman ni Sir Ayok doon sa ating chat room, and real talk, sabi naman ni Ma'am Danga, Ma'am Mariel Danga doon sa ating chat room. So as a token of gratitude, we would like to present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Febe. Kindly share the screen, server. The AID Incorporated, in cooperation with Cagayan State University, Philippines, would like to present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Febemar G. Paat for the invaluable insights, knowledge, and expertise, as well as the well-spent time as resource speaker in the topic COVID effects busting, thriving and coping amidst the pandemic during the AID Incorporated Professional Development Seminar, Series 2 seminar held on the 15th of January 2022, signed Lynn A. Shocon, Global CEO, AID Incorporated. Ma'am, thank you.
I appreciate the certificate and the active participation and all of you, sir. Thank you.
I know we are now hungry for its past 12 here in the Philippines and maybe sleepy for it almost 12 siguro in the US, but it's worth it. I believe na busog po naman tayong lahat sa kaalaman. Again, thank you AID Incorporated, thank you Sir Richard, and thank you Ma'am Febe. This time, may we open our cameras for the photo opportunity. Documentation team, please take charge. Paki-open po ang ating mga camera. Server.
I'd like to thank my fellow members of our Professional Development Committee, Ma'am Babes over there, Dr. Rodel, and the rest of our team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alan.
Thank you to Dr. Lee. I miss Lee.
Yes, ma'am. So to end, I would like to quote CEO Lynn, who once posted in her FB page, and it says, "It pays to serve humanity for the common good, live to serve with passion and commitment. AID Incorporated family is always at your service." Unquote, be it during pandemic or when this pandemic will begin. The AID is here. We are here for the professional development of global teachers. Again, magandang buhay everyone. Salamat sa ating mga organizers, Ma'am Den, Ma'am Babes, and Sir Rodel. This has been your host, Dr. Alan DLC, saying goodbye for now and see you again in the next series of ProfDev High Impact webinars. Maraming salamat po. Happy eating sa atin sa Pinas and have a sound sleep sa mga taga USA.